In relation to the cessation of the mobile cath lab services at Letterkenny University Hospital. There has been much backlash as it emerged a number of weeks ago that as of the end of June, the weekly angiogram service will no longer be provided at the hospital. Donna Marie Doherty has more.
CELTA say a review of the National Strategy on Cardiology is underway and due to be published imminently. This review, they say, will set out the roadmap for future delivery of cardiac services nationally. In the interim, Galway will continue to support both Letterkenny and Sligo University Hospital sites in the delivery of acute cardiac services. It's been confirmed that a business case has been submitted in relation to interventional radiology suite at Letterkenny University Hospital as a part of the service planning process over the past 3 years. However, there has been no national allocation of resources, with CELTA continuing to advocate for such to fully utilise the facility and commission it for use on a 5-day basis. An assessment of the equipment in the hospital is currently underway by an expert panel. An assessment of the equipment in the hospital is currently underway by an expert panel who will make a recommendation with regards to the capacity of the facility to provide angiogram services.
The new president of the GRA says getting more Gardaí on the ground will be high on his agenda in the coming term. Donegal Garda Brendan O'Connor was announced as the organisation's new president at their annual conference, having previously held the role of vice president. He says the lack of Garda visibility needs to be addressed.
We have been particularly hit hard in Donegal with the lack of basic equipment such as vehicles. The problems in relation to visible frontline units across the country is a problem, and there seems to be a serious lack of Garda presence. So hopefully the government and the Commissioner will listen to us and will listen to the community and the public representatives and get more people into Templemore and get more boots on the street.
The Dáil will be told later today that the British government are trying to evade accountability and responsibility for their role in the Troubles. It comes as the debate continues over an amnesty bill being proposed by the British government. Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin will also raise the findings of a police ombudsman's report which identified clues of behaviours in the killing of Donegal County Councillor Eddie Fullerton. Deputy McLaughlin believes people must be held to account.
The British state are trying to evade responsibility, evade accountability, to protect their own military agents, including in this case a mass murderer. And we will fight them, we will resist that, and we will get to the truth about the central role of the British state in our conflict.
Emergency services are currently at the scene of a crash in Letterkenny this morning. Traffic delays are being experienced in and around the area of the Kiltoy roundabout. No further details are currently known. For weather now, rain and drizzle clearing to bright or sunny spells and scattered blustery showers today with highest temperatures of 13 to 15 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock.
COVID-19 can still cause serious illness, especially in people at higher risk. We need to keep protecting each other. So stay home if you have symptoms. Wear a mask in healthcare settings, public transport and busy places. Let fresh air in if you're meeting indoors. Keep hands clean. And get a COVID-19 vaccine and booster. Let's keep looking out for each other. From the HSE, for us all.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
A very good morning. You're welcome along to Wednesday's edition of the 9 till noon show. 4 minutes past 9 on this, the 25th of May. How are you keeping? I hope you are well. Okay, the lines are open for you right now to comment on whatever we're talking about today and to raise your own issues, to share your own stories. And you can do so by calling 07491 25000. Your WhatsApps and text to 08660 25000. Let's see what's making the front pages of the papers today, and just absolutely awful news unfolding out of Texas in the United States. Another mass shooting. We'll talk about it a little later on in the front pages. But 19 children between the ages of 7 and 10, and I'm conscious that there could be younger ears in cars if you're travelling to school or what have you, but absolutely terrifying, and it's never going to be the norm, but becoming so frequent. There are more mass shootings in the United States than there are days in the year. It's just unbelievable. As I say, that's referenced. It broke late last night. It's referenced in some of the nationals. I'll get to those in a moment. But let's start with what's happening locally. The Inish Times, the 9-10 Micro Redress Scheme and its proposed replacement, which is coming before Cabinet on May 31, apparently without pre-legislative scrutiny, are based on guesswork. They cannot and will not address the issue of crumbling homes in Inishowen and beyond because they are not based on an empirical scientific studies, an expert has claimed. The Donegal Post tells us that thousands of people are set to come to Donegal in the coming months for what has been described as the Iron Man of pilgrimages after the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. St Patrick's Purgatory on Station Island in Lough Derg near Pettigo is preparing once again to welcome pilgrims back for the 3-day pilgrimage. In recent years before the pandemic, over 10,000 pilgrims would make their annual pilgrimage or retreat on Lough Derg during the summer months. The prior of Lough Derg, Father Lawrence Flynn, said this is the year for anyone who's always thought about visiting Lough Derg or who has had the 3-day pilgrimage on their bucket list to come and see what it's all about. Have you done it? What's it like? Would you do it again? I know certainly in the south of the county, many people I would know will have done it. I wonder do many from the north and the west and northeast of the county, would they go and take part in that? Let us know, 08660 25,000. The Finn Valley Voice tells us a property for rent in Donegal is 73 times more likely to be an Airbnb than a long-term rental. Of the over 1,700 properties for rent in the county, just 23 are long-term rentals, according to daft.ie. The remainder are Airbnb, a highly flexible system under which clients rent a property for a few days or weeks under conditions which vary widely from property to property. So many of you out there listening, and it's your own business, by the way, and I'm not looking to nose into it, but I mean, clearly, you know, hundreds of people who would have been maybe had a property and they were renting it out have obviously switched to the Airbnb model. It has to be the case. If that's you, why? You don't have to come on the radio. It'd be interested to get an insight into it. 08660 25,000 WhatsApps or texts. Were you a renter? Someone who rents, a landlord, isn't it? That's the correct term. Were you a landlord, you know, to long-term renters? And did you switch to Airbnb? Did it make financial sense? Was it because of less stress or hassle? I don't know the ins and outs of it. Let us know if that's the situation. It would be interesting to get an insight because, you know, I presume we didn't end up with all of these houses just sitting there and then people decided to use them for Airbnb. On to the nationals now. The Irish Independent. Many pubs are shutting for 2 days a week after it was estimated a third of staff have left since the game changer COVID pandemic. Groups representing pub owners will tell a Dáil committee they suffered a huge loss of chefs, managers and senior bar staff after 2 years of closures and restrictions had devastating impacts. Donald O'Keefe, the chief executive of the Licensed Vintners Association, will tell politicians foreign staff have returned home or left the licensing trade to work in retail distribution and construction. He said 79% of members reported that uncertainty about the pub trade's future was the main reason for losing staff. But, you know, and the theme of the messages we get into this programme when you're speaking out and about is that people don't like the hours, they don't like the pay. They don't like the uncertainty of how much work they're going to get in a particular week. These are the examples that are given to us. And they've found other places to work where they feel it's a better work-life balance. They're treated better. Is the industry going to have to, you know, root and branch right across the board? I know some employers in that sector are excellent, don't get me wrong. But is there going to have to be some sort of a root and branch change to retain and encourage staff to enter that sector? OK, the Irish Times this morning. The UK government will introduce later today long-awaited legislation which will give the Irish language official recognition and legal protection in the North. Irish language campaigners hailed the move as historic but said they would wait to see the detail and remained concerned over how the new laws would be implemented in the absence of a functioning executive in Northern Ireland. The measures are part of a wider cultural package which will include the appointment of Irish language and Ulster Scots, Ulster British commissioners and establishment of an Office of Identity and Cultural Expression which is intended to promote cultural pluralism and respect for diversity. Okay, so we've been covering on this programme over the last couple of weeks the strike by medical scientists and the impact it was having on health services. Of course, as I said yesterday, many of you would have received a contact from the hospital saying a procedure was cancelled. We also heard that this strike was delaying discharges, and also some concerns about, the ongoing care of people in the hospital, as blood tests would be vitally important in assessing their condition, whether it was improving otherwise. Well, thankfully, the action for today has been deferred. So we've had 2 one-day protests. Today was to be a second day of action, but that has been deferred. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen next week yet. But reading on in the Mail here, medical scientists have suspended a 3rd day of strike action planned for today, with union leaders saying meaningful engagement is needed as their members are running on empty. Up to 30,000 hospital appointments were expected to be cancelled as a result of the strikes this week, with all routine G sampling services and non-emergency testing in hospitals suspended. But the Medical Laboratory Scientists Association told its 2,100 members to resume work as normal today after the union and the HSE Department of Health accepted the Labour Court's invitation to engage in talks. So we do hope that is resolved there, because there's enough facing hospital staff, but also more importantly hospital patients, and we don't need to be adding any more fuel to the fire. Right, the Irish Daily Sun went to print late enough to carry the story of this awful situation in the United States. At least 14 primary school children and 1 teacher were killed by a teenaged gunman at a Texas primary school. It's unfortunately gone up to 19 overnight. The suspect, who was named by Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who himself, by the way, sent out a tweet giving out that his state was only 2nd in terms of new gun ownership. He sent that out there not that long ago, ironically. But the Texas Governor Greg Abbott, he named 18-year-old Salvador Ramos. He abandoned his car and entered Robb Elementary in Uvalde at around noon yesterday. Mr. Abbott said Roman entered the school with a handgun and may have had a rifle. It turns out he had 2 automatic rifles, which he was able to walk in and buy legally on the day of his 18th birthday. He added he shot and killed horrifically and incomprehensibly 14 students and killed a teacher. We know it's 2 adults now and 19 children. The Texas governor said Ramas was killed by responding officers. It was claimed last night that he shot his grandmother dead before going on a rampage at the school located an hour from the Mexican border. Now, I've been looking at the reaction to that, as you do. And I don't really care about people's rights to guns or those who don't believe they should have them. It's not my argument. I don't involve myself in it, but it's politicised. How could something so horrific just become a political conversation where those who are in favour of people's right to bear arms beat it over the head of those who want more controls? Surely that should be so shocking that some middle ground should be found, that people have the right to have guns, but you can't have a situation where an 18-year-old can just walk in and buy body armour and buy 2 automatic rifles. There has to be somewhere in between there. As I say, I'm not interested in the Democrat, Republican, the pro-gun lobby, the pro-anti-gun lobby, whatever it might be, because I don't know enough about it and there's no point me involving myself in it. But there has to be taking the politics and the division in society out of it and looking at those 19 children that have lost their lives before really they probably even started, the absolute devastation that those families will have for the rest of their lives. And for the other children that witness this, the scars that they will carry, unbelievable. A week just after 10 other people were killed in a store, regardless of what people's views on that subject are in the United States, surely at this point they have to say this is the only country in the world where this happens like it does, and they have to find some common ground to get along and to agree and to stop making it so easy for people to just pick up guns, buy guns and walk in and just do what they do. I was listening to some commentary about it and they were talking about, well, you need police in the schools and then they want certain material across the windows so perpetrators can't see who's in there, or offer some protection from gunfire. I mean, children should not be going to school for fear of being shot. In America at the moment, more children are killed by gunshots than car crashes. and by some measure as well. I mean, they have to come up with some sort of solution to park the rhetoric, park the sticks with which they beat each other, and come up with an agreement that saves people's, particularly young people's lives. As adults, we make decisions, and sometimes we have to live by the consequences of those decisions. But these are innocent young children who just went to school. It was their last day of school, and just the absolute devastation. That town forever more will be known, and probably rightly so, as the scene of this awful massacre, and they have to come up with some resolution to it. Right, okay, on to the Irish Daily Star. A campaign to warn festival goers of harms of drugs, the harm of drugs, has been launched by the HSE. The health chiefs are concerned that drugs like ecstasy, MDMA and cocaine have increased in strength and increased the risk of an overdose. Now, of course, lots of young people will not be listening to this programme, but lots of young people will be going to these festivals. The absolute majority of them will enjoy themselves, but in the heat of the moment they might let their guard down and take up the offer because they're away from home and have been locked up for 2 or 3 years. They might take the offer of one of these drugs. They're incredibly dangerous, they're higher risk, and they can cause real problems. The HSE are urging revellers to remember key points such as mixing drugs increases the risk of unexpected reactions and becoming unwell. The HSE said the new drug harm reduction campaign is aimed at music festival attendees and offers practical harm reduction information as well as advice on how to reduce the risks associated with drugs use. Because, you know, with other drugs such as alcohol or whatever, you do know what you're taking, even if you take too much of it. The problem is there's lots of stuff out there that claims to be certain types of drugs, but it isn't. It's much more dangerous than it ordinarily is. Right, the Irish Daily Mirror. I do wonder if this is sort of the direction we are going to be going in terms of, you know, tech companies laying people off. Tech stocks have fallen dramatically. Of course, everything played into their advantage during the lockdown. Online shopping, the purchase of more electronic goods and what have you. But PayPal has become one of the first companies on a big scale to lay staff off here in Ireland. And as I say, it could go either way. We are the European central hub for a lot of these companies, these international companies, so that could work in our favour. But anyway, PayPal yesterday revealed it will lay off 307 staff, and consultations will start this week with affected workers. It did not comment on claims the job losses, 135 in Dublin and 172 in Dundalk, County Louth, are being relocated to India. After 131 posts were cut last year, the company has paid off 438 Irish workers in the last 13 months. Now, they still retain over 2,000 staff here, so a significant employer, but we just hope that that's just not another sign of perhaps what might be to come, and we hope not. 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, that is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments present rock and roll legends Show Waddy Waddy at Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, Thursday 9th of June. Tickets on sale now from hotel reception, ticketmaster.ie and Joe Gallagher Entertainments. Show Waddy Waddy live at Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, Thursday 9th of June.
The moment you got told the good news.
Rob, you made the panel.
When the lads added you into the group. Skipping nights out, missing the crack. Rewatching classics and learning new tricks. Being driven to the biggest game of your life by your mam. And then you finally come on in the 51st minute. It's the minor moments that last a lifetime. The Electric Ireland GAA Minor Championships. This is major.
Is your Skoda a little older? Pre-loved, perhaps? What adventures, I wonder, did it have in the past? Another family, another life, bright city lights, or a quiet country existence seeing Ireland's best sights? We don't really need your car's story. With a Skoda service, you get a complete vehicle health check, genuine Skoda parts, and free roadside assistance for 12 months.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 97 21396 or visit dmgmotors.ie.
Buy now and then split your payment over 3 months, interest-free, with Klarna at Tinny's Toys, Letterkenny. Now that the evenings are longer, there's loads of great ideas for outdoor fun at Tinny's, like pedal and battery ride-on tractors, cars and jeeps. Also a great range of outdoor toys like swings and slides now in stock. Shopping made easy with Klarna at Tinny's Toys, Leck Road, Letterkenny, and at tinnystoys.com for express delivery or click and collect.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. Marie is a farmer on the right-of-way, and Joe talking about the right-of-way. Good morning to you, Marie.
Good morning.
Right, sorry about my convoluted introduction there. So can you explain the situation you're in and the problem you face?
Well, first of all, I'm not a farmer. I own land in Donegal.
Landowner.
In Northern Ireland.
Okay,
yeah.
My mistake.
Not at all. The problem was, for years, I had problems with trespassers, people breaking down fences, and actually one person decided that she was going to rent out my land, but anyway, she did. So I decided to sell it, basically. But when I went to sell it, I discovered there was an issue with the right-of-way. Now, my property is landlocked, but we had an old, ancient right-of-way that goes back to 1857 from the Griffiths evaluation. That's how far I can find that our family used it. So anyway, I had somebody that was going to buy it, but their solicitor advised that there's this new law coming down the road, and that was about 2 years ago, that the government had decided that all landlocked properties the right-of-way had to be registered.
Mm.
And I proceeded with getting it registered. But before that, I noticed people who owned the right-of-way, they tried to block me, or they put up gates and all sorts of things, which they shouldn't have done. They put up gates and they give other neighbours the key, but not me.
Yeah.
But they knew what they were doing. They were trying to block the access because this new law came in 2009.
And do you think that was this that they just had a problem with you, or were they fearful of what might be developed in your land and they were trying to be preemptive or frustrate the sale? Like, what do you believe their motivation might have been?
They don't just to block the right away, because a right away going through anybody's land is going to devalue their land, and they don't even live here. They live in Scotland or somewhere. So their plan was to sell the land on their own, because they had inherited it from their parents. They live abroad as well.
Uh-huh.
You know, so they just they probably thought that the right away was going to devalue their land.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they decided, when this new law came in 2009, that if there was 12 years gap between me using it and I would lose it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This new law that it came in 2009 apparently came in. So that they knew about this. I didn't, because I'm not a farmer.
Yeah, and Mary, do you know what the criteria for using it is? Is it using it once? Is it regular use, or is there criteria for what would be classed as, using this right away over the course of that period of time?
Well, I suppose using it on a regular basis, I don't know. I really don't know the law. I'm being totally honest with you.
That's okay.
I don't know. Yeah. But I do know that was their motive. But anyway, because these other people were trespassing, they had donkeys, horses, all sorts. At one stage, I went up there. I had to jump over the gates. I went up over the gates because I couldn't get through the gates.
Mm-hmm.
To put these other people off on the other side of me, because they were trying to claim my land, because when my father got Alzheimer's, they just permanently put donkeys, horses, whatever. They were probably trying to claim squatters' rights,
Right.
So a lot of people like myself are with a piece of useless land like that I have down in Donegal, are tortured with right-of-ways and trespassers. And do you know what I mean? And then people say, "Oh, you've land, you've money." people don't have a clue. They don't.
Right.
The torture is not worth it.
So, have you been able to sell the land, or can you, or what's the situation with the right of way?
Well, I went to a solicitor, and she advised me to get it registered, and I did. But at considerable cost, because you have to get the maps registered by an architect or drawn up by an architect. You have to go and then put a piece on the paper for about a month, which is another considerable amount of money, and of course then paying my solicitor. Like, she did her best. In fairness to her, she did her best to advise me. But in the meantime, the people who owned the land, they were selling parcels of land under the same folio number, and every time that happened, that delayed me another 6 months, because I'd had to go back and forth to the land registry people to say that this piece of land didn't affect the right of way. Twice that happened. It was just a nightmare.
So once you've legally gone through this process, are they able to object to your registering of a right of way?
No. I got it. It was after nearly 2 years. It was fully registered there on the 18th of May. But it was a long, drawn-out process, and it was unnecessary stress. But this is my story.
Yeah.
But people, for example, say you have a family where the father is a registered landowner. He's got Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that, or there's an illness in the family, and that piece of land that's landlocked isn't used by the family, for the 12 years. Because of that new law, apparently, if they don't use it for 12 years, that means that land's no use to them. So the person who that land's attached to, they can put their cattle or sheep, because you can't cross it, and then another while down the road, they can claim it with squatters' rights if people were that twisted.
But if the amount with the amount of time that we're talking about, Marie, and I, by the way, I've full sympathy for you, but with the amount of time we're talking about, and with the procedures that have to be gone through, this would be pretty rare, wouldn't it? This type of situation you've had to have gone through.
I don't know. I don't think it will be that rare. You think about all the mountain plots and pieces of land all around Donegal. Sure, there's loads of land that's landlocked. And the problem is the government keeps changing the rule. And this is the thing I discovered when I had the land registered, the right-of-way registered, that I didn't need to do it at all, because now, yet again, the Irish government did another U-turn.
So the process you've been through was not required?
No, because the government changed the law again. They did a U-turn on having your land registered.
Right, okay. Now, at this point, though, albeit having gone through a long, drawn-out and expensive process, has everything been resolved to your satisfaction, other than, obviously, a lot of the effort you've put in not being necessary, as it turns out?
Unnecessary cost and expense and stress.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not even the money. It's the stress. The stress for anybody that has to go through a process to try to get a right away, to prove a right away, all sorts of things. It's just too stressful. And when you know your family has it, and you have people. These people came into that area in the 70s. Their parents did, and they inherited it sometime in the 90s. And they never bothered about it. They had a young fella, looking after it, and it lay there. But they, played not a nice, tried to block my way going up to this property.
Right. Okay. But you have that. You have that resolved now at this stage. Right.
I have it resolved,
Yeah.
but I'm just the only reason I'm making an issue of it is it's just. I hope there's other people out there maybe can tell their story, but I'm sure it'll be the same for a lot of people.
Okay.
Unnecessary stress because the government keeps making the changes, these laws to the right-of-way laws all the time.
Okay, Marie, listen, thank you for your time this morning. I'm going to stay with this because we've got Aisling Meehan, who's an agricultural solicitor, on the line with us. Hi, Aisling, how are you keeping? Thanks for taking the call.
Hi, good morning, Greg.
Maybe you could talk, if you don't mind. We're not going to talk about specific cases, Ashley. We'll just talk generally speaking, but using Marie as an example. The rules as it relates to right of way, those rules changing, then changing back again. This 12-year period where you have to have used this right of way. Is everything that Marie said exactly how you would see it from a legal perspective?
Yes, I suppose it was a bit of a mess, really, is the best way to describe it, in that this law came in 2009, the Land and Conveyancing Law Reform Act in 2009, and essentially what they wanted, so I suppose just as a background, the reason why they were trying to bring it in is because they want to develop a system of e-conveyancing. So at the moment it's very much paper-based if you want to transfer property, but they want to get it to a system whereby it's all done online. But there's certain, I suppose, aspects of land that aren't registered, such as rights-of-way. So what they wanted to do was to have all these rights-of-way registered so that you wouldn't have to rely on these paper-based applications. So that's kind of the background to it. So they decided in 2009, right, we're giving you 3 years, register your rights-of-way by the 30th of November 2012. And obviously there was uproar, a lot of lobbying done by the different farm organisations. So because of that, then they extended it out to 2021. So, of course, everyone kind of, I suppose, sat back and kind of said, we've loads of time to do this. And then there was a frenzy, is the only way to describe it, around 2019, 2020. And where a person had been using a right-of-way for generations, without issue, then suddenly they had to register these rights-of-way. And even within that, it was very limited how you could register it. Essentially, you either got the person over whose land the right-of-way existed to sign a deed acknowledging that they had a right-of-way, and people are naturally, I suppose, unfortunately, they would be suspicious about that, and that, sometimes they wouldn't agree to do it.
Yeah, so I presume what happened is where there was sort of an accepted kind of passive situation. As soon as a landowner, found that someone wanted to make this a legal aspect of their property, it's going to put some people's backs up. For right or wrong, they're going to go, hold on, what's going on here? What else is at risk? Or, that's just the human emotions you might have.
Absolutely. And where I stand in practice, so I just deal with farmers. I specialise in agriculture. I only deal with farmers and landowners. So I would have come across a lot of these cases. And where it typically became an issue is that we looked for maybe to register right away for what's called all purposes. Whereas if you'd get a kickback then, if a right of way had been used, we'll say traditionally for agricultural purposes, well then they would try to limit the right of way for agricultural purposes, because really it was based on historical use of the right of way. So then if a person then entered into that, if they legally accepted that, well then the right of way was limited to that, and also limited, we'll say, in terms of maybe, it was 9 foot wide or 12 foot wide. And then people were concerned then, well, that's fine now, but modern machinery, that mightn't be good enough.
Ashley, unfortunately that line is weakening, and also wonder, can you change position slightly?
Oh, sorry, okay. Can you hear me better
now?
Now
I mentioned to Marie that her story would be pretty rare in terms of, it not being used for farming, a few people inheriting land, and so on and so forth. But the establishment of right-of-ways and the problems that might have caused would have been quite common, because I presume a lot of these right-of-ways weren't legally registered or recognised.
Yeah, they weren't, and I suppose, historically, what people would have accepted is what's called a declaration. It was like a sworn declaration from the previous owner and predecessors in title, which said, listen, I've been accessing my property over this right-of-way for 20 years plus, and it had to be without force, without secrecy, and without permission. And that was acceptable. It was acceptable to the purchasers, solicitors. But where it became an issue then was that, especially with banks, so that if a person was borrowing to buy land, the banks were insisting, before they'd give the loan, that they had to have this right-of-way registered. So even though the law wasn't coming in until wasn't due to come in until 2021, a couple of years prior to that, banks were insisting that these rights-of-way be registered. So what we culminated in, it was, September, like the rights-of-way had to be registered by the November, that there was uproar is the best way to describe it. And it was causing friction, and I totally agree with what Marie was saying in terms of the stress that it brought to people. And in fairness, we would have lobbied, we'll say, and the farm organisations And in fairness, Minister Humphreys did sit up and listen, and the Minister for Justice, and they rolled back on it basically. So they said that they go back to the old judge-made law. Now, saying that again, I appreciate Marie's concern. She's going, oh my goodness, I've gone to all this expense, all this stress, and it was a waste. And I suppose what I just say on that is that there's just been recently the guidance is issued from the Law Society of Ireland, which says that, okay, if there is a situation where if there's any type of objection around a right-of-way, which seems to have happened in Marie's case, well, the best practice would be that you should insist on having the right-of-way registered, because there's no comeback at a later point that if you do buy the land and then the people object to it or start causing hassle, well, then it's, you're in a precarious
position.
So
to a shrewd buyer, what the stress that she's been through, it will make it a more attractive and perhaps even valuable acquisition than if she hadn't gone through those hoops.
It is, yeah, and I said, even though the law has changed, I think with Marie's situation and the fact that she was getting hassled around exercising her right away, I think the solicitor for the purchaser would probably still have insisted on having the right away registered, because the people whose land over which the right away existed seem to be objecting to the existence of the right away. I think just one other point I think is just important is to mention as well that Marie concerns about people trying to claim squatters' rights, and she'd mentioned, I think her dad had Alzheimer's. The clock stops if the owner of the land doesn't have capacity. Well, then the clock stops in terms of trying to assert adverse possession. So typically, a person has to be in possession of the land for 12 consecutive years in order to try and claim squatters' rights. But if the person who owns the land is incapacitated, well, then that time that they've been in possession of the land isn't taken into account in meeting that 12-year requirement.
Okay. She mentioned about the use of a right-of-way over 12 years. Was that the use of the land or the actual use of the right-of-way? And what would qualify as use? Would it be walking up to check it once a year, or would it be running machinery across the right-of-way? Is that easy to explain?
Yeah, it's 20 years is the length of time that you have to be using the right of way, and they say it's without force, without secrecy, and without permission. So I suppose it's regular use. But then even at that, you don't necessarily have to use you might only use it at certain times of year, depending on when you bring in animals. And then in terms of the history of the use will determine the type of right of way you have. So if historically you had only been walking in and out, well then your right of way is limited to just walking.
Interesting.
And then the other thing is, we'll say, as regards where it became an issue, as I said, is that typically people would look for what's called a right of way for all purposes, but it would normally be limited to what historically it had been used. So where it can cause an issue is that if a right of way had been used for agricultural purposes and then the person then looks to build a house on the land, well then the people over whose land the right of way exists could probably credibly object and say, hold on a minute, your right of way was always just for farming. It wasn't for residential purposes, so we're not allowing this house to go up. We're objecting to it.
So, Aisling, it's in the same space, but might be a different issue or under different law. Donegal, like most counties, all counties perhaps, would have points of interest, right, that can only be accessed by crossing someone's land, and that would have happened for years and years on end. And then, in recent years, fences may be put up, or bollards might be put up, or things to block people from accessing this pathway through the land to, say, for instance, a point of interest or whatever it might be. And normally they stay in place. They're not argued. They aren't returned to sort of pathways for general public use. Is that a different area of law, or what might be going on there?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. And I suppose there's a big differentiation between what's called these private rights of way, and the private rights of way typically arise in situations where person A owns land at one point, and then there's a field in the middle, and then they own land at the other point, or maybe from a public road, so that they have to cross through somebody else's land to get to their own land. You need what's called a dominant and a servient tenement. So they're private rights of way, and that's what you're talking about is typically would be public rights of way, and actually there are very few public rights of way that are not public roads, so that a lot of the time if people are going in to visit, we'll say, historical sites, it's actually permissive use by the landowner, so that the landowner isn't necessarily objecting. Now, at the same time, with the public right-of-way, it should be included in the county development plan as a public right-of-way. But again, the local authority has discretion that if a way had habitually been used for 12 years, or that then it can be included as a public right-of-way in the county development plan. But they have to serve notice on the landowner in order to acquire that public right-of-way. But a lot of them there are permitted use by the landowners, that the landowners agree to people passing in and out and over it. And we'll say with certain walkways, there often can be agreements done as regards, maybe insurance, that if there's people walking through land or whatever, that they carry their own insurance and that they will indemnify the landowner. Because predominantly, that's what the landowner or the farmer is concerned about.
Yeah.
That if somebody hurts themselves or whatever going across the land, that I suppose they wouldn't find themselves being caught up in a legal wrangle because of that.
But just on that point, for the Marie's scenario, say for instance, we'll use Marie's example, that the farmer over which land she crossed decided to put cattle in there, for instance, or bulls, okay? And for Marie to travel from the road to her property had to travel through this land. In the event of an animal attack or an injury on the person's land through which the right-of-way passes, is there any liability to the landowner, or are they protected?
Yeah, I suppose there's 2 points I'd say in connection with that. One is that if she has established a right-of-way, that, arguably those people are interfering with her use of the right-of-way. So if, there's a phrase from, case law that says if somebody does something out of cussedness, so they do it out of spite, that there's no legitimate reason why they would put animals, we'll say, on over the right-of-way only to try and make it more difficult for the person to use the right-of-way, but then they're interfering with the right-of-way. And it's looked at very dimly from we'll say if it was a judge, if it was in a court case, etc. The second thing I'd say about that is around occupiers, what's called occupiers liability. So what type of liability that a landowner owes to people coming onto their land. And it can vary depending on whether somebody is invited in as a visitor or whether they're there, we'll say, as a recreational user or whether they're there as a trespasser. So arguably we'll say that, I suppose with a trespasser, that's the lowest, we'll say, level that they have a duty not to intentionally injure. But even at that, we'll say people generally put up notices on their lands in order to limit their liability under the Occupiers Liability Act. So I suppose at a very basic level, they have a duty not to intentionally injure someone. So arguably, I suppose with a bull, they should put up a sign. And I mean, if there is a right-of-way over the land in which the bull is, I think, well then, they shouldn't really have the bull in there. Or at least they should have the animal fenced in to stop, the animal, and certainly they should have signs up if there's a bull in the field, etc. They have to take steps to put people on notice. Okay,
just 2 short questions. If you're paying rent on the land, can you still claim squatters' rights? Now, I'm not sure what the motivation for that text is.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you can't. If you're paying rent, you're not. You can't claim squatters' rights.
Right, so what should people be doing now in terms of rights of way?
I think I still would say get a good few people making inquiries, and indeed I only had somebody yesterday who was making inquiries, and I kind of said, listen, you don't have to register right away anymore. But as we discussed it, the person said they were on good terms with the person who owned the land. So, I suppose in that instance, I was saying, you know what, if they're willing to sign off on it, well then I think it would be good, because you never know, the next generation mightn't be as agreeable and they might make life a bit more difficult. So if it's not registered, it's fine from a legal point of view, but I suppose then if, it's not as black and white as it could be if you have your right-of-way registered. So that, I suppose my advice would be, if you're on good terms with the person over whose land the right-of-way exists, my advice would be to go and have it registered. And that can be done very easily. You just get a land registry compliant map marked up by an engineer surveyor, €130. You swear, a solicitor then can draft up a deed again. It's not huge expense in it, and not all, it's just simply registered to the land registry, because it's done with the consent of both parties. Okay,
and very finally, a land purchased 4 years ago, a neighbour had taken a path through the land before that, 15 odd years ago, and registered this path in his name unknowingly to the previous owner. How is that possible to happen?
It shouldn't happen, because if there's an application being made across somebody else's land, they should have been notified. Typically, if an application was made to register right away under what's called the Form 49 procedure, the Land Registry writes out to the landowner, putting them on notice and giving them 21 days in which to object to the registration of the right-of-way. So
okay. Aisling, listen, thank you. If people want to sort of get more information about your services, are they able to contact you? Or
Yeah, of course. Yeah. My number is 061 368 412, or the website is agrisolicitors.ie.
agrisolicitors.ie. Okay, we'll retain that information. Aisling, thanks for your time this morning. Aisling Meehan there, agriculture solicitor.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union. 9102127.
Whoa! It's sunglasses season. Time to get some brilliantly priced designer sunnies. So get down to TK Maxx with incredible big brand steals for everyone. But sunnies aren't the only thing you can snap up a cheap deal on. Swimwear, sun hats, flip-flops. With new products arriving every week, get in-store and online now. And bag yourself a bargain at TK Maxx. Summer.
For a great early season lawnmower deal, visit Gartley Sales and Hire, exclusive stockist of Stiga in the Northwest. Mowers, trimmers and hedge trimmers. Full trade and service available at Gartley Sales and Hire, Gartley, Letterkenny. Call 9126276.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney & Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order, and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing or voluntary transfer, call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
It's a busy time on farms, so watch out for tractors, trailers and other farm machinery using the roads. Be patient, slow down and only overtake farm machinery when it's safe to do so. If you're driving a tractor, you must hold a licence. Make sure your vehicle is roadworthy, check your load regularly and drive at a safe speed. Be aware of traffic building up behind you and when possible, allow cars to pass safely. From the Road Safety Authority and the Irish Farmers Association.
Okay, so Gardaí will be given powers to use facial recognition technology to identify suspects in serious crimes for the first time. Justice Minister Helen McEntee is seeking Cabinet approval to allow the use of special software to catch killers and child predators, as well as ruling out innocent people in investigations. Ms McEntee is also expected to tell Gardaí today that national security and public safety must override the right to privacy in certain instances. Well, Liam Herrick is Executive Director of the Irish Council for Civil Liberties. He joins us now. Liam, thank you for joining us. And I suppose your initial reaction to these proposals from the Justice Minister.
Good morning, Greg. Well, I think we're concerned at what we're hearing from the Minister today. Facial recognition technology is widely recognised as one of the most invasive and powerful types of modern surveillance. It gives the users or the system the ability to track people's movements and match your face, which is a unique identifier, with the database of other persons. And the potential misuse of this data to track individuals moving through public spaces, to restrict their movement, to monitor who they're protesting or meeting with, is so powerful that it's led authorities such as the European Data Protection Board to recommend a ban on its use in public space. So that's the background here. And I think the Minister may want to do this, but I think she's going to face a lot of legal obstacles to being able to do this with regard to Irish and European law.
Now, whilst they might say it's quite emotive, and you can understand, because, hey, who wants murderers and child predators roaming the place? You know, will do anything to stop that. So I can understand why they've used those as examples. But surely, if this is to be effective to identify those people, then we're all really effectively being identified all of the time.
That's the key point. I mean, the minister talks about trying to restrict an absolute right to privacy. Nobody believes there's an absolute right to privacy, but there is a constitutional right to privacy, and restrictions have to be proportionate. And if the minister believes that she can bring forward a scheme which only surveils people involved in serious crime, we'd love to see it, because we're not familiar with any such system that's been introduced anywhere else before. I think the European Data Protection Board likens such a system to effectively treating individual human faces as number plates, as human license plates, because the technology is similar to the technology that's used for automatic number plate recognition. That there's a database of faces, number plates, and cameras then are trained to match what they view or surveil with that database. It is something that intrinsically goes to the whole question of individual autonomy and our ability to really walk about our daily lives in an anonymous way that aren't subject to surveillance.
Now, just in relation to that, are we talking CCTVs? We don't know yet. Yeah. Are we talking CCTV cameras in Letterkenny Main Street, the streets of Dublin? Or could they say, right, and we had this conversation when they were talking about CCTV, for example, to catch people who are littering. Would they say, well, listen, we need as much of this country covered, so we're going to have to be able to access whatever cameras are on the network, be it a CCTV camera at a beach in West Donegal to stop people fly tipping versus a camera, at the top of O'Connell Street. So in other words, they will presumably try and get just as much coverage and access to as many cameras as is possible, or would it be limited to cameras that are designed, for people's security, if that makes sense?
I mean, I suppose we really don't know. But I think as listeners will be familiar, there has been a huge expansion in the use of CCTV by the guards, by local authorities, and by private bodies. So there's a lot of capacity out there. What specifically would be proposed here, we don't really know. The guards, certainly in urban centres, already themselves make use of a very widespread distribution of CCTV. It's important to recognise, too, that what the guards are doing at the moment is already problematic. So the Data Protection Commission has launched a number of investigations into the guards' use of CCTV as things stand. Their record in terms of data protection is poor. So in that context, to give them use of a much more powerful tool, which will allow them to track individuals between areas, I think is incredibly risky. And the trend in Europe is against this. I mean, the European Data Protection Board and Data Protection Supervisor have called for a ban on the use of facial recognition tech in public spaces and by law enforcement.
But I mean, the problem is the concern is its misuse, though, really, isn't it? Because I presume if you or I were wrongly implicated in a crime, we would be very happy to be vindicated and freed off the back of facial recognition technology showing me to be, 50 miles away at the time of a crime. So, in other words, what it might do to benefit people is there not a tipping point there, the advantage versus the disadvantage?
So the legislation that's already been brought forward by the Minister, the Garda Digital Recording Bill, tries to provide a new legal basis for the use of CCTV, which would allow, in instances where a serious crime has been committed, or indeed if somebody is accused of a crime, that they might be able to go back through CCTV in particular areas with the idea of either incriminating or exculpating somebody. But we're talking here about using artificial intelligence through the technology to monitor in a live form mass crowds. So again, the theoretical suggestion that it could be used in such a way that was focused and targeted only for serious crime or when a child goes missing or something is very appealing. But we're not familiar with any case where this has been put into practice, where that's been achieved. I mean, if you look at the United States in particular, where there's been a lot of use of this technology, we've had very serious problems, not just with the surveillance end of it, but also with the biases that are built up in the database, that they tend to be very poor at distinguishing people from certain ethnic minorities or indeed women. So the discriminatory aspect that has come in too. There's legal actions against this type of technology all over the US, in Canada, France, Italy, Germany, Belgium, Sweden and Australia. It's a legal quagmire here. We're surprised that the minister is bringing this forward, but we'll certainly strongly oppose it.
Yeah, and also you can imagine it too, as you say, with mass surveillance, say for instance of demonstrations, could that be used as a subtle or unsubtle tool to discourage, people taken to the streets, rightly so, in the knowledge that maybe they could be identified or that could be used to get, it creates I think it almost, it would, I find some people might find it limited, their liberty might feel limited.
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly the danger that we're talking about when we talk about a chilling effect on people's right to freedom of assembly, freedom of movement, freedom of association. The Data Protection Board has said that applications like facial recognition technology interfere with fundamental rights and freedoms to such an extent that they call into question the essence of those rights and freedoms. You are no longer an autonomous, anonymous individual in a public square.
But many of us will opt out and many of us won't. The likes of, and it's an obvious point to make though, but the likes of Facebook, people will have got a notification that their face appeared in a wedding in Galway. They just happened to be in the background of a picture that was taken, and Facebook goes to automatically tag in it. So the likes of Facebook and other social media platforms are actively scanning our images, saying, is this you? Do you want to tag yourself into this picture? Is it because there's consent there, or there's the option to opt out that's different? Or maybe people aren't aware that that's routinely happening with these tech companies. I don't know.
Well, the tech companies are an area where this has already been flagged as a serious legal problem, and we've seen Facebook deleting the databases that they built up through, and Apple have had a lot of concerns in this area too. I mean, the databases are a particular problem because the company that is most responsible for creating the databases that allow a system like this to work, that allow the camera to match your image against a database, Clearview technology is under threat of legal action in most countries in the world at the moment because they've illegally built up the database.
Are you concerned at the Justice Minister coming out with, instantly incredibly emotive examples? Do you think really a government should have a responsibility to have a discussion, but come at it from a neutral perspective, to say, well, these are the pros, these are the cons, let's see what people think? Because I know I'm reading this and I'm going, well, if it stops murderers and if it stops any exploitation of children, how could I be against that sort of thing? Should a government really not sort of say, well, here's a couple of arguments, have a conversation, let's see what we as a nation, where we want to go, rather than sort of going really emotive right from the get-go? I don't know. Maybe I'm looking for balance, but maybe governments don't offer that.
Well, I think you make a very good point. I mean, so much of the discussion around surveillance, whether it's about facial recognition technology or around biometric data, around encryption of messages, that law enforcement bodies talk about front and center things like child safety and child abduction, which are hugely emotive and very important issues to justify measures that will apply to a much wider category of people. But however the minister might want to frame this discussion, it would be framed for the government in a different way because inevitably, and in fairness, the minister acknowledges this, they're going to have to talk to the Data Protection Commission about this. It's very likely European bodies will also take an interest in it. The Oireachtas will have to have an opportunity to consider this. They'll need legislation. It's very clear they'll need fresh legislation on this. So this is by no means over. I think that there's a long road to go, and we would think that the legal obstacles to this are going to be significant.
Liam Herrick, thanks so much for your time this morning and giving us a clear understanding of that. I really appreciate it. He's Executive Director of the Irish Council for Civil Liberties. Back with the weather and news after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. The Donegal Road Safety Working Group is appealing to all road users to slow down. Wear seatbelts, not to drive when impaired by drink or drugs, or distracted particularly by illegally using your phone while driving or when tired. Be aware of vulnerable road users due to the increased number of cyclists, motorcyclists and pedestrians using the roads. There has been a dramatic increase in road deaths so far in 2022. Our priority is to keep people safe, so we would ask everyone to please make responsible decisions when using the roads. Donegal County Council, helping to make our roads safer for everyone.
For big name menswear at great prices, visit Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Top casual brands including Mishmash, Sixth Sense, Tommy Bow and Penguin. If you're going to a wedding or a big event, formal wear names include Rimassimo, Andre and White Label. Also a great selection of children's casual and formal wear in stock. Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny and online at watsonmenswear.com.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Stress-free travel, 10 minutes from car park to departures gate, and a selection of 19 destinations across the UK and Europe to choose from can only be one place. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, so rain and drizzle clearing this morning to bright to sunny spells and scattered blustery showers. The showers becoming more isolated this afternoon before gradually dying out this evening. Temperatures 13 to 15 degrees. Now, a minute late, we go to the news at 10.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. 3 people have been injured in a crash on the Port Road in Letterkenny this morning. Gardaí and emergency services are currently at the scene of the 3-vehicle incident that occurred at around 20 past 8. Gardaí say injuries sustained are non-life threatening. The road remains open, however delays are expected. The CEO of Sealta University Healthcare Group says work is continuing on contingency measures in relation to the cessation of the mobile cath lab services at Letterkenny University Hospital. There has been much backlash as it emerged a number of weeks ago that as of the end of June, the weekly angiogram service will no longer be provided at the hospital. Sealta was responding to a motion put forward yesterday by the chair of the Regional Health Forum West, Councillor Jerry McMonigal. Donna Marie Doherty has more.
Sealta say a review of the National Strategy on Cardiology is underway and due to be published imminently. This review, they say, will set out the roadmap for future delivery of cardiac services nationally. In the interim, Galway will continue to support both Letterkenny and Sligo University Hospital sites in the delivery of acute cardiac services. It's been confirmed that a business case has been submitted in relation to interventional radiology suite at Letterkenny University Hospital as a part of the service planning process over the past 3 years. However, there has been no national allocation of resources, with Sealta continuing to advocate for such to fully utilise the facility and commission it for use on a 5-day basis. An assessment of the equipment in the hospital is currently underway by an expert panel who will make a recommendation with regards to the capacity of the facility to provide angiogram services.
The Dáil will be told later today that the British government are trying to evade accountability and responsibility for their role in the Troubles. It comes as the debate continues over an amnesty bill being proposed by the British government. Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin will also raise the findings of a police ombudsman's report which identify collusive behaviours in the killing of Donegal County Councillor Eddie Fullerton. Today is the 31st anniversary of the murder of Councillor Fullerton, who was shot dead at his home in Buncrana. Deputy McLaughlin believes people must be held to account.
The British state are trying to evade responsibility, evade accountability to protect their own military agents, including in this case a mass murderer. And we will fight them, we will resist that, and we will get to the truth about the central role of the British state in our conflict, how they directed loyalists, how they armed them, trained them, resourced them, and then protected them after they committed murder across the board.
The new president of the GRA says getting more Gardaí on the ground will be high on his agenda in the coming term. Donegal Garda Brendan O'Connor was announced as the organisation's new president at their annual conference, having previously held the role of vice president. He says the lack of Garda visibility needs to be addressed.
We have been particularly hit hard in Donegal with the lack of basic equipment such as vehicles. The problems in relation to visible frontline units across the country is a problem, and there seems to be a serious lack of Garda presence. So hopefully the government and the Commissioner will listen to us and will listen to the community and the public representatives and get more people into Templemore and get more boots on the street.
111 complaints made to the Ombudsman last year about public services originated from Donegal. The number of complaints made about local authorities specifically almost doubled last year, with nearly 1,300 received across the country, up 45% on 2020. Overall, more than 4,000 complaints were made about public services in 2021, the highest number on record. There were over 1,000 complaints about government departments, down 12%, while the health sector saw an increase of 25% to almost 800. Ombudsman Ger Deering says a number of reasons could be behind the spike in complaints last year.
Some organisations were suffering significantly from COVID, the fact that their people were maybe not working from the office, and also some organisations had to divert resources into particular areas. But I think it's really important now that all organisations come to grips with the new reality of how we work, whether that's remotely or in the office. And I think we've got to move past COVID now and get back to providing services.
Weather now, rain and drizzle clearing this morning to bright or sunny spells and scattered blustery showers. Highest temperatures today of 13 to 15 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, May the 25th. The death has occurred of Bridie Barr, née Brennan, Avondale House Burnfoot and formerly from Dunree. Bridie's remains are reposing at her home. Removal tomorrow afternoon at 1:15 to St Maur's Church Fawn for Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time plays from 11 p.m. until 12 noon. Family flowers only plays, donations in lieu of desired to Buncrana Community Hospital Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Florence Donaghy, 13 Connieville Dairy, formerly of Dundalk. Florence's remains are reposing at her home. Removal tomorrow morning at 9:15 to St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in St Mary's Cemetery, Cockhill. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time plays from 9 o'clock tonight. Family flowers only plays, donations in lieu of desired to the Foyle Hospice, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. And the death has occurred of Hugh Brogan, 10 Drumbo Lower, Stranorlar, remains reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. The house is private to family and friends only, please. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
So we put the call out, and you're welcome to the programme, by the way, and you're very welcome along as well if you're just joining us. We put the call out in the first hour of the show to hear from people who were maybe former landlords, long-term renters, would have been their clients, but now have switched to Airbnb, and just wondering the reasons why, because as we read on the front of the Finn Valley Voice, there are over 70 times more properties are available for rent on Airbnb, short-term, expensive lets they can be, if you were looking to rent for 6 months, versus, rental properties for long-term renters. Well, this caller says, Greg, I'm an Airbnb landlady. I used to rent out my property for long-term leases. The yearly income works out the same with Airbnb, only being leased for 3 or 4 months of the year. With an Airbnb, the tenants care much more for the property and it gets less wear and tear. You have to refurbish after every long-term tenant. So that's one person's reasoning there. Greg, what right has someone to carry or have arms? The US mad mentality is beyond funny. Imagine if we had the right here. The world should call the US out for a breach of human rights of not being shot to death. It's madness, they say. I don't know, and I chose my words carefully. Whether or not people want to or feel they have the right to, I don't know. It's not my argument. I don't live there. I don't know why you might feel you have to defend your property. Is it because you feel someone could break it in any stage? I don't know. But my point is whatever the view is, they have to come up with some sort of a solution. Greg, no measure is going to stop a crazy person doing what they want to do. If they don't mind dying nor going to jail, well, measures won't help. A great talk, though. Well, I would disagree, because if an 18-year-old wanting to inflict such damage here, for example, they can't walk into a shop and get an automatic weapon where you can load, dozens of bullets in at any given time. Yes, they could, take a vehicle or a blade or something along those lines, or even a shotgun if there was a legally held shotgun in the house. But they could never realistically wreak such carnage and havoc inside a primary school. How could they? I can't see anyone could argue otherwise. The only way you could do that easily is if you can go into a gun shop, buy body armor to protect yourself, and buy 2 automatic rifles that carry many, many, many rounds of bullets. That's the only way you could go in and do what they wanted to do if you were an angry, disgruntled, whatever 18-year-old. You could not do that here. And also, too, there's like a table now. I was watching CNN this morning before I left home, and they were listing a table down of the most people killed in these shootings. And I'm just thinking, and they were also talking about how, well, we haven't found his manifesto yet, and I'm thinking, if there was someone 18 years of age, they might go, well, I want to go to the top of that league and I want to create a manifesto. What's the media talking about 18-year-olds manifestos for before they go in and kill children? I don't know. I think also that environment also leads to a situation where someone who's inclined to do that will want to do it better than everyone else, and then will think that loads of people in CNN and Fox and what have you will sit there and read their manifesto nonsense. Also with American media, and it's getting like that here as well. I mean, as much as I can, I try and play it down the middle. Is that Fox News have a completely different approach to covering that story to CNN. I mean, this is almost 20 7, 8, 9-year-olds murdered in their classroom in what should be a safe place, and you've got media outlets taking a different stance on it. I mean, who would want to consume that crap? But people obviously do. Right, your views on that, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or call 074 91 25,000. Every 10 years, around 150,000 people die from gun shootings in the USA, and nobody in power seems interested in changing the law. They call it land of the free. I can see why. And look at, when guns are available, you are going to have people that will shoot each other on the streets. You're going to have rival gangs. You're going to have, bad people doing bad things to other bad people. But there's a space created where young people can go in and buy automatic weapons legally, and all the bullets and bulletproof vests, and then just go into a school. I mean, there's differences there, isn't there? Good morning. I received a text message yesterday. As the text pretended I had a parcel in the post to be collected, I would need to pay €190 before it could be released. Neither myself or my wife had anything ordered online. The message is a scam. Please make people aware before somebody loses a purse of money. Thanks. Yes, indeed, a timely reminder. It's always timely. Purporting to be from On Post and Amazon, which they're not. So many people are ordering online or receiving gifts from abroad or whatever it might be. The message reads that, this is On Post here and it's not On Post, or this is Amazon and it's not them. There's another group as well. What's that other? Is it DHL? They'll say that we have your package. It's in our central office, but you have to give us, often it's a small amount, like $1.90 or $2.50 or €3 because of Brexit. If you give us that amount of money, we'll send the parcel on to you. That does happen sometimes, but a lot of the time it's a scam. But because people are waiting on packages and it's a relatively low amount of money, they give their card details. And of course, once you give your card details, you can't limit it to €1.90. They can literally take everything that's in your account out of it. I can see one problem with face recognition. Every time any of my family members put a photo of our late father on Facebook, it automatically tags one of our first cousins who looks like our late father. Yeah, indeed. Caller also raised the point that people could end up being wrongly accused because they have been tagged in a post. Now, I'd imagine, and this is not in any way to defend face recognition, that it would be part of evidence gathering, that it would support other evidence. You would imagine that you would hope that someone wouldn't be convicted purely based on facial recognition in and of itself, but a great deal of weight would be put on it, no doubt about that. A caller says there's something badly wrong in a world where an 18-year-old in America can't buy alcohol, but they can walk into a store and buy guns. Hi, I'm writing on behalf of the Church of Ireland in Leitrimach Ward. We're hosting a classical concert by the Donegal Chamber Orchestra. It's on Saturday, the 4th of June. I'm wondering if you could announce this on air for us. Of course we can. So it is classical music is back. After 2 years of enforced silence due to COVID, music is springing into life again all over the country, and of course in Leitrimach Ward too. They have a brilliant orchestra playing in a brilliant acoustic. The acoustic was brilliant in the church. Performances. It promises to be an unforgettable event. I beg your pardon, with music from Handel, Dvorak, Scriabin, Holst, and other composers. The orchestra, with strings of all ages and across the country, will enchant you and carry you in a magical world of classical music. And you can tell my ignorance. I guarantee I mispronounced a few of those. But if you want to go, it's the 4th of June, 5 p.m, and you can contact Angela or on 95443441 for your tickets. Okay, right, that sounds like it will be very enjoyable. Right, let's take a break for the bingo. We'll be back afterwards. Good luck if you are playing today. Here's the numbers.
It's time for Ncbi Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 25th of May. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S3. It's game number 21. The numbers are 15, 7, 23, 54, 82, 77, 60, 42, 90, and finally 32. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Ncbi Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Getting married? Don't leave it too late. Book with us today at the Groom's Room in Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park.
Attention all tractor and forklift owners. Donegal Tyres in Donegal Town is a leading supplier of agricultural and solid forklift tyres in the northwest, with a huge range available at competitive prices. Donegal Tyres can help you choose the correct tyre for your application, and we will come to you, so no downtime. Check out DonegalTyres.com or call 07497 21482. That's Donegal Tyres, Donegal Town, where you'll get a great deal.
Quick, write this number down. 91 48 234. Fleming Doors, you know, industrial doors, garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise, or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
Your energy savings start right here, right now with Bord Gosh Energy. New and existing customers can save up to €974 with our best dual fuel offer. Find out more at bordgoshenergy.ie. Discount on our standard unit rates for 12 months with fixed term dual fuel contract. Annual savings figure compared to BGE standard rates. Offer available to new and existing single fuel customers. Unit rate and standing charge apply. See bordgoshenergy.ie for EAB prices and full T's and C's.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. And, you know, the irony of ironies, whilst after our last call, our last text, during the outbreak, I received a call from a number. It's a cloned number, similar to my own number. And a voice message was left claiming to be from Amazon, saying that you have an order out for delivery today. It's an automated voice, sounds American. You've an order out for delivery today, press 1 for more details. And it is a scam. So literally while the ad was playing, that was why I was a little delayed coming back. Someone was attempting to scam me on air. Right, okay. Now, you may know or be aware of the conversation that's ongoing as it relates to the cost of hiring a car here in this country. It's very, very expensive at the moment. People are they've booked their holidays, okay, and because of the nature of the country, of course, and the nature of our public transport, if you want to visit and tour and you're flying from abroad, you're going to have to rent a car, but the costs are through the absolute roof. For 10-day hire from Dublin Airport at the end of July, a small car, a Citroen C1, will set people back around €1,500. For those looking for more space, a Volkswagen Golf Estate comes in at over €5,700 for 10 days. For the same period out of Kerry Airport, a small VW costs €1,500. The industry says there's a lack of supply of 2022 stock levels. Now, if it were me and I were they, and that was the reason, there's a ton of quality used cars. Not a ton, but there's plenty of quality used cars available out there. Could they not buy them up and use them? Clearly they don't want to. Kieran O'Donnell commented on this. We've invited him onto the programme. Hi, Kieran. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, okay. So are you travelling into Ireland, travelling within Ireland, or what was the reason you went seeking a quote?
The reason I went seeking a quote, I live in the UK. I was travelling back home to see my son, who lives in Wicklow, and I was going to travel on to Donegal to see my mum for the weekend. This coming weekend, actually.
Okay, so tell us what price you were given for car rental.
Well, I normally go through a website called eBookers because it's a little bit cheaper when you rent a lot of cars. And the price I was quoted 2 weeks ago for a Fiat 500, so a mini car, the smallest car you can get, was £1,946, which was reduced due to my insider discount from £2,317. Now that's for 2 days.
For how long?
2 days. That's for pretty much from this Friday evening until Sunday evening of this coming weekend.
And your discounted rate was just shy of £2,000.
No, my discounted rate. The original rate was £2,317. It was discounted by 16%. So I would have ended up paying £1,946 for the weekend.
Wow. Okay. And do you buy the reasoning here, because the car's sitting there? Do you buy the reasoning that they can't get their hands on vehicles and this is down to a shortage of supply, or do you think there's gouging going on here?
It's probably the truth is somewhere in the middle, really. I believe there is a shortage in new cars due to the microchip issue, but yeah, I think there's a little bit of people replenishing their accounts due to COVID losses and the like as well. So it's probably a little bit of both.
And what would that normally have cost you?
It would normally have cost me about £60 for the weekend, so it's quite. Obviously, that jumps a little bit during the summer, but normally the average is out about £60 for the weekend over the year.
And were you able to find an affordable alternative, or is that the only show in town?
No, I didn't. I went looking this morning. The cheapest I could get this morning was £732, so it's come down a little bit in the last 2 weeks. But yeah, it's still too much. So what I've actually done is my son's coming over to me for the weekend, and he's just turned 16, so he can get on the boat now and travel over to Holyhead.
Yeah, and you can send him back with £1,000 out of your bank account that you saved on car rental.
Absolutely.
Okay, but isn't it? Yours is a situation whereby you wanted to come over. It's a short enough flight, quick visit down south, up north, and away again. But, there are people that will have booked holidays, 10-day holidays, 7-day holidays, wherever, from Germany, from France, from the United States. Then they presume car hire would be relatively affordable. Like, there's people going to be cancelling trips here. Hotels are going to miss out. B&Bs are going to miss out. Restaurants, bars. I mean, it's going to have a huge impact. It has to have an impact on the tourism industry.
Absolutely. I was going to, I rent probably about 15, 20 cars a year in Ireland because I'm over quite regularly to see family. And I think I'm just going to. Normally I'd stay in a hotel maybe one of those nights, and I'm just going to cut down on the trips home now. So
well, you'd have to, because everything
economically
has to be
viable.
within our, within a scope. Do you mind the quality of the car? Like, as I say, I don't know why. Do they have to? Can they only rent new cars? I mean, I presume there's a decent supply out there of 2 or 3 year old cars. I just wonder why they're not buying them up. That would have its knock-on impact, of course, in the second-hand car market. Why they're not buying them up and hiring them out?
Absolutely, Greg. I think sometimes when you fly into Belfast, I'm not sure if am I permitted to
Yeah, go ahead.
out a name on here, but there is a company locally to Belfast Airport called King's Car Hire, and their cars tend to be. They have some newer cars, but they tend to have some older stock as well, and they can be quite reasonable. So maybe it pays to go with maybe smaller providers and local guys who will have that flexibility.
I just think there's some tech person somewhere coming up with an Airbnb equivalent for cars.
Indeed, you could be onto something.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to go halvers on it? You can put up the cash. I'll provide the brains.
Very good.
I wish. All right, Kieran. Listen, it's a shame that you're not getting back. It's I mean, obviously you've come up with a solution, but that's just one single journey that would have been good for you, of course, but good for the country, and that's gone. So God knows how many more it's like that for. Kieran, thanks for your time.
You're very
and hope
welcome.
you can get home soon.
Excellent. Have a good morning.
All right,
Take
Kieran. Kieran O'Donnell there. A quote for the weekend, Friday to Sunday, right? €1,946. That was a 16% saving. Sorry, it's not euro, it's pounds. £1,946 from Dublin Airport. Where did he say he was going in the south of the county? Normally I'm good at remembering that stuff. Country, sorry. He was going, I think it was at Galway, and then he was going to come up and see his mum in Donegal on as well. Normally he would hire that car for about £60. It probably would be £100 sometimes in the summer, maybe even £120. But now £1,946, and that's with a 16% discount. And the car, lovely wee car, if you live in the city or whatever, a mini Fiat 500. So a tiny vehicle. Now, that was a couple of weeks ago, so we thought, right, closer to the time, I'll check again. Today, £732 for Friday to Sunday. Now, if I were in the hotel industry, if I were in the hospitality industry, or if I owned a gift shop, I'd be kicking up a right stink here, because people are going to, between the price of the hotels and the price of these cars, we're Rip-Off Ireland again, aren't we? When was it we sort of really had that moniker and lived up to it, where you couldn't come here? It was just a rip-off. I mean, other than the fantastic, there's amazing people working in tourism and hospitality, and I think here, particularly in the Northwest, we offer great value. But we can't do that if people are priced out of coming here, or see the headlines as it relates to Dublin prices and go, I'm not going to Ireland, I'm going to go to Frankfurt or somewhere else. I mean, are we Rip-Off Ireland? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps or texts, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Right, okay, we can go straight to our next conversation now, and Raymond joins us on the programme now. And Raymond, thanks for taking the call.
Yeah, good morning, Greg. How's the form?
Fine, thank you. Now, you lived for 3 decades, if not more, in the United States. In fact, in Texas, but it's a massive state, of course. And I don't think you lived near where this latest mass shooting has happened. People try and get their heads around why the right to bear arms is so important, why it's so politically divisive. Do you have an insight for us?
Greg, I don't, I'm just talking to this one individual, all right? I don't think the issue is really guns. There's an underlying feeling behind it. If you go back to like the 1960s and 70s, we had the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War kind of opened a scar, dealing with social cohesion, if you will. The social cohesion that existed prior to Vietnam, after a few years of the war, a lot of young people started questioning, like, what's going on? And there was an awful lot of demonstrations and protests and everything throughout the 1960s and early 70s. And then toward the end of beginning of the 70s, there was a former military analyst, and he released something called the Pentagon Papers, which the New York Times published. And the Pentagon Papers basically said the U.S. military has been lying to everybody. The war is not going well. Everything we told you, effectively, we didn't tell you the truth.
Yeah, I mean, but we're well accustomed to that now. I think that's really how we live our lives now, and people question that and understand that. I mean, we know there's propaganda in a war.
Yeah, no, exactly. But there was, if you will, sort of an innocence that was lost with Vietnam and the United States. And it led to sort of the fraying of social cohesion. It used to be everybody was sort of on the same page. And then after that, it was like, it's sort of like, if you will, and this is sort of not a good comparison, but like if there is like a marital infidelity, how do you go forward after that? It's always somewhere in the back of your mind.
So the kernel to this is arming oneself for fear of, in other words, to rise up against the government if need be.
Well, there are a lot of people in the United States would look at it quite differently. A lot of people that have guns are afraid the United States government exists to repress people in here. And that's, I'm not being conspiratorial.
No, I get you. But listen, we've seen examples. Say, for example, right, the Capitol Hill situation a couple of short years ago and others, where there was a mass movement of people. They wanted to do something. They wanted to go and make their points be heard, to get angry, right? And the police and the army came in. They suppressed the crowd. People died, and it was dispersed. I mean, if this were about, being able to sort of defend yourself or oppose a government or a decision, that would be a perfect example whereby people with guns might turn up. There's examples whereby the reason why some would argue you need guns, they never use them and they never will. Do you get my point?
Oh, yes. No, I get your point. It's just, there's a psychology. It's like I need 1, 2, or 3 guns to protect my family in here, and it may be couched in the terms, well, somebody breaks into my house and tries to kill one of my family, one of my children, one of my wife. I have to protect myself.
Yeah, and I get that, Raymond. But the thing I can't understand, right, is that that everything is so politicized and we are so polarized. How can the slaying of these young people not be enough to say, right, okay, Raymond, say, for instance, you're 45 years of age, got a family, you have the right to bear arms, you have the right to defend your property, you have the right to your home. But your 17-year-old son should not, at the turn of 18, don't forget, like, you can't booze over there till you're 21, can you? So, that you can have that right to bear arms and protect your family, but we have to have a system whereby a 17-year-old who turns 18 the next day can't walk in and buy automatic weapons, even if they were allowed to buy shotguns. That in some way might limit what we're seeing here. But I can't understand, why are people so entrenched in their views that something like this cannot be a catalyst for change, Raymond?
No, look, Greg, I fully appreciate and fully understand what you're saying, and you're totally correct, okay? You're totally correct. I'm looking at that there is a total lack, if you will, inspiration and leadership coming from the very top of the United States government. And that's been going on, if you will, for decades in here. And it's like, there's people, they worry about their family taking care of their pocketbook, and you're in the office of the presidency of the United States. And like, I don't want to get into like the current president, about the former president. And, this kind of goes back where, I'm the president. I take care of my children, my grandchildren, and nobody's supposed to worry about it, but there's no like real true leadership. There's no inspiration saying, I'm going to go out there and do the best thing, and I do not care about the political consequences, because the United States is split, terribly split in here, and it's been,
I was watching one news channel last night, right, as the events were unfolding. Now, when I say they were unfolding, they were unfolding. Parents had not yet been told if their young people had died or not. Yeah. And there was a panel, 4 or 5 people discussing it, and it was so dispassionate. Some of the language used, I was like, I can't believe they're speaking like this. You know, there's, as I say, there's parents and brothers and sisters that you're not yet even been told. But they were putting out the defence already. They were defensive. They were setting the stall out to say, oh, you know what's going to happen now? Those that don't want us to have guns are going to use this. So there's no space for a discussion, because even before, as I say, we knew how many would have died, before families were actually informed of the loss of their loved ones, the lines were already being drawn in the debate once again. So they were able to talk over video footage of the school, 19 7, 8, 9-year-olds murdered in there, and there was no sympathy for that. It was about setting out the stall for what was to come in terms of the broader conversation. What would it take? I can't see what... If that's not enough to sort of go, right, let's let's change the tact here. I don't know what is enough.
Yeah. No, Greg, one comment. And I spent, 30 years in Dallas, Texas. That's far from Uvalde, which is close to the Mexican border. This was a poor, very poor area. Anything around the valley, going north of the so-called valley with the Mexican border, I mean, it's not well off. It's agricultural. I mean, poor agricultural, not like agricultural in this country, all right? So, like, you had a 18-year-old young Hispanic Mexican descendant, and I gather, the children would have been almost all, Hispanic.
The population of that school were 90% Hispanic, which is kind of reflective of the general population of the town of around 15 or 16,000.
Correct. I'm viewing, and this may be, I don't know, myopic, or I don't know what the correct term is in here. There has to be very serious inspiration and leadership coming from the very top of the U.S. government and going down. Like, I'm sure you've seen over the last decade with the introduction of the smartphone, the police situation. And if you're a minority member and you get killed, and the only difference was somebody had their Apple iPhone out and they filmed it. Otherwise, there would have been nothing. And even like sadly in Texas, years and years ago, the Texas Rangers, which were sort of the state police, they had a very violent reputation for, killing Mexicans in Texas, and there were massacres, and I don't know how you open a conversation. There needs to be inspiration at the top. It's not just saying condemning this, because you get through to nobody. There's a lack of trust. Like, social cohesion is a huge thing, and that's been almost like it's been ripped in here. And
does that conversation then have to happen externally? In that, I wonder, are people living in America? And I'm not saying for a second they're wet behind the ears, but do they realise that this doesn't happen anywhere else? Do they realise that, there's something happening in the United States that does not really happen in any other similar type country, whereby children go to school, there's drills as to what might happen if someone comes in. They're talking about having police in schools. They're talking about putting up sort of bulletproof fabric on windows of classrooms. Like, is there a lack of awareness as that this is really quite uniquely American as it relates to comparable countries?
It's been primarily American. Like I know years ago, wasn't there some school incident up in the Scandinavian countries? I mean, people in the United States, you're basically taught you're exclusive, you're the best. Everybody else is can't.
Yeah, I think that was a case where a person went out to a summer camp on an island, was it not?
Yes,
and obviously he didn't have weaponry, or if he did, the point is those things are rare, and you have to go back and can't really name the country because there's not broad access to automatic weapons where you can go into a space and inflict so much damage at the same time. As I say, if everyone was just allowed to carry shotguns, we would not be talking about 18-year-olds, whatever it is. That would be one step that would mean we wouldn't be probably talking about the level of massacre that we're witnessing today. That happened because he was able to go into a small space where defenseless people were and open up dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of rounds very, very quickly.
I mean, Greg, like, school should be absolute safest place possible. There shouldn't even be a consideration of what happened in Uvalde. Now, there's one thing, and this may not be related. It's called American exceptionalism. that if you're, everything in America is exceptionally the best in here. And what's tragically could happen in here is, in 48 hours, this story will be almost forgotten about. There have been, I read about a week ago, there have been over 200 mass killings in the month of May in the United States alone.
It's massive, yeah.
And that's a mass killing, I believe, and you may correct me, is like if 3 people are killed, that's considered a mass killing. And like this has been going on year after year. It's beyond terrible.
And there is also the question, Raymond, of course, access to guns is one thing, but you also have to be capable of such a thing or be motivated to do that. So that has to be part of it as well. I mean, the guns aren't firing themselves. Someone is picking them up and feel motivated to do this. And lots of people are prepared to take lots of other people's lives out if they have an opportunity. Now, we can remove the opportunity, but what is there? Is it because maybe it's just the size of the population? I don't know. But what is it there that young people particularly seemingly feel that it's okay to do this, or there's some justification for doing this? Removing the guns from the conversation, that mentality is probably still there. Guns don't create that mentality.
No, they don't. I mean, that situation was a week ago in Buffalo where 10 people were shot in this supermarket, and he was an 18-year-old too in here. But it's like getting back to what I might have said earlier.
Yeah.
You have to provide an inspiration. It's like, Greg, I'm an 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old. I want to be just like yourself. You, Greg Hughes.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
You're a sterling example. You stand out, and I want to be like you. And unfortunately and tragically, I don't know that really exists in here.
Do you think the media over there, I saw CNN putting up a league table effectively, that's what it looked like, and I don't mean that to be in any way frivolous, but it was like a league table, and also discussing, we don't know if he left a manifesto, we're going to look at that, and we're trawling through social media posts. In some way, could that be seen as a leaderboard for 18-year-olds who are capable of this?
There's some, they used to use this term in the United States called copycat, and I think that's similar to what you're talking about, or somewhere in that ball, Greg, it's an incredibly difficult question in here. It goes to the fundamentals. Like in the United States, the one constant through America, from the 1970s on, has been there's been one war, some years of peace, another war, more years of peace, another war, and it's been one constant throughout. It's like the next war is going to be around the corner somewhere, and like, the thing in Vietnam, like I was just a teenage kid growing up in San Francisco back then, all right, and like I didn't know anything about anything, I was basically shielded or safe environment, I went to Catholic schools and parochial schools, as they called them, and like I wasn't involved, but there was just a lot of stuff. And then if you look in recent years, you had the 2 Iraq wars, you had Afghanistan, you had Syria, Lebanon, Libya, and supposedly the United States military is involved in something like 80 conflicts or wars around the world, and at the moment, and
including a proxy war in Ukraine too. I mean,
and it's like, where's the inspiration? Like, where are the Greg Hughes of the world to take the leadership, at the top? And it's going to take time, and it's going to take serious leadership, and saying that I, Greg Hughes, I'm sacrificing here, and people will understand what I'm doing in here because I'm different than everybody else.
It's interesting you should say that, and it's not justified, but I appreciate the name check. Is that, I wonder then, if it were like, love and peace and save the world in the United States, could that be then seen internationally as a sign of weakness? Because the tensions at the moment with North Korea, they discharged another ballistic missile just as Biden left the region. What's going on with Russia at the moment, the ongoing situation with the Chinese and elsewhere. I just wonder if there was this sort of harmony broke out in the United States, is the concern that could tarnish their international image. I might be stretching here, but everything's interlinked in some form or other, I wonder.
No, Greg, everything is interlinked. Let me tell you, I left Dallas, 10, 12 years ago. I had one of my neighbors, he was Vice President, Engineering International, major communications military organization. And one day I was out walking my, German Shepherd, and and he was walking his collie, and I said, how are you doing? What's going on? And he said, well, I just got back from Seoul. And I said, oh, Seoul, South Korea? Yeah. And I'm sort of going like, what the hell are you doing over there? And he said, 50 kilometers south of the demilitarized zone, he and his company, of which he was in charge of on this side, had put in at that time the very latest communications technology. He said, back then, he said you were able to communicate instantaneously with any military ship or base anywhere in the world. Okay, and later I was going, and he also said this military base you could hold 3 military army divisions, which is a big base. And I was thinking to myself, like, what the hell's going on here? It's like the United States is not worried about North Korea. They were preparing for a war with China in here. And it's sort of continued in here. Like, they think, Kim Jong, whatever, he's a very small fish in their world. And it's, I'm afraid there could be some sort of serious incident with China in here, and because China is the number 2 global power.
Yeah, we're on the brink of something. It's either a pullback. Russia's trying to reestablish itself. Obviously, the NATO trying to prevent that happening. The Chinese and North Koreans watching on with interest. I mean, something's going to happen over the next while, and hopefully is that lines are redrawn, and people get back to some sort of a collaboration for economic or whatever reasons. Raymond, listen, it's always good to have you on. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate your time this morning.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €3.5 million. Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Sportswear for women at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure in fresh new colours and styles. Nike Pro tees and vests with matching shorts and fitness tights, perfect for working out or just for that leisure look. Under Armour offers new colours, quarter zip tops, t-shirts with matching shorts in different lengths. Complete your fitness look with the latest footwear from Nike, Asics and Brooks. Look the part, play the part, in-store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever sale. €10 million worth of stock in store and ready to take home. All tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything slashed in price. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Ireland's biggest range, best prices, and in store to take home today. Sale now on.
Mum, we're starving. Can we have crisps?
Like clockwork, just as they're in from school. When did this become an everyday thing?
Please.
Sure, it's only a little treat. No, you're sticking to the new plan. Guys, remember what we agreed. No junk on weekdays. You can have cheese and crackers, yoghurt or toast.
At 3 p.m. on Tuesday, Joanne started with healthier snacks. Let's go easy on the treats. Start with smaller ones less often to keep your family healthy. Find more ways to start at makeastart.ie. Brought to you by Safe Food, the HSE and Healthy Ireland.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Now, did you know Global Hunger Day is this Saturday, the 27th of May, and we're just joined by a couple of guests to discuss this. First, we'll say good morning to Paul O'Brien, CEO of Plan International Ireland. Good morning to you, Paul. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Greg.
It's good to have you with us. So I wonder, are we facing into a global hunger day, facing into it in a situation whereby presumably we're going to see a dramatic increase in the amount of people that would be classed as, living in poverty, living in hunger. We're looking at the genuine reality of famines on our horizon because of, food supply issues emanating out of the Ukraine crisis.
Well, I suppose, Greg, this has been there before the Ukraine and Russia crisis. We've had a global hunger crisis for the last, literally for the last few years.
But we can agree it's going to worsen significantly.
I think it would, but we also have, you know, we're on the back of COVID, and that had a huge impact in a number of developing countries. We have the climate change issue, and we have the conflict, and you have conflict in quite a number of countries already. So those, I think the Ukraine crisis has absolutely exacerbated it for right across a number of different countries, because, you know, 6-7 months ago, people didn't realize that Russia and Ukraine were supplying about a third of the world's wheat supply. So like famine or hunger is not just about supply, it's about access. So sometimes, like in this country, if this thing's not available, okay, you go and buy something else. But if you don't have money, you're not in a position to buy anything at all. So I think you got to kind of look at it in terms of availability, but also in terms of access.
And of course, there's also in certain places an inability to grow. So
well, there is
that is another option that is either difficult or not there.
I think that's again exacerbated probably by the climate crisis, which places that would traditionally have been able to predict when rains would come, because of climate crisis, they're not able to do it. And that has affected crops, and that has affected people's ability to grow. But it still actually comes back to that issue around access. Do people have access? Do they have money in their pockets to be able to buy food, and is food available on local markets?
So can you talk to us about the areas that are worst affected, perhaps, and the amount of people that we're talking about here?
Well, we're talking, we've never seen these sorts of figures before. We're talking about 811 million people struggling to find food. So if we take the population, the global population of over 7 billion, you're talking about 1 in 8 people really struggling to find food. And that has kind of been exacerbated in the last number of years. But, you know, the numbers for us are just, they're astounding, because we've never come across these numbers before. You're talking about 45 million on the brink of starvation, facing starvation. And these numbers, they just roll off our tongues in many ways. But if we take the population of Ireland at 5 million and a figure like 45, that's 9 times the population of Ireland in terms of numbers of people facing actual famine situations at the moment. So the numbers are massive. We have never seen these numbers before.
Is it like what we saw at the time of at the peak of the pandemic in terms of vaccines? You know, that there was a hoarding of vaccines. We took in far more vaccines and ordered far more vaccines than we needed in this country. So we're not innocent at all. And we saw that the European bloc, it was right, everyone look after their own. Similarly in the United States and elsewhere. And then we saw swathes of the world where people arguably could be more vulnerable to the effects of COVID. No vaccines there at all, hardly. Maybe given out, we'll give over the ones that are just about to run out of date. Is that kind of what happens in terms of resources and food, that really we are part of the problem?
To a certain extent, I think the big worry for us around the Ukraine crisis is the resources that we'll draw from traditional, call it what we call traditional donors. And these are institutions and governments that give money. Because of the Ukraine crisis, a lot of countries like our own have refugees, Ukrainian refugees, that need services provided, and rightly so. But sometimes that money in some countries is now coming out of overseas aid budgets. So it's having an impact on the budgets that are available. So at a time when there's greater need, actually overseas aid budgets are in decline, because in some cases it's the Ukraine crisis, but other countries we see in Europe are actually increasing their money for defense. So they're looking at what's happening with Russia, and they're saying we better bolster up our defense. And the other thing that's happening that people probably haven't seen yet is that they're putting money aside for the rebuilding of Ukraine. There is a sense that this war inevitably will come to a conclusion, and there'll be a huge rebuilding job needed to be done. And we're seeing that already in the European Union, where money is being put aside for the rebuilding of Ukraine. So there's huge demands, and if you want to say on money that would be available normally for international aid and food crises and things like that. And all of the crises that we're dealing with, the donors are struggling to provide money, and organizations like the World Food Programme where we have 60 projects with them across 15 countries dealing with 3.2 million people. We're seeing them struggling to actually get access to the resources, both in terms of money and now into the future in terms of wheat, because they used to do a lot of their purchasing in Ukraine and in Russia.
I would guess that I could be completely wrong, but the money that Plan can get together, presumably it doesn't spread as far. You have to buy food and supplies, presumably on the open market. So the euro that someone donates today presumably will not have the same impact, despite the best will in the world, as a euro donated last year.
That's absolutely true. And what we're seeing is food prices increasing across the globe. And a lot of what we do, Greg, which it makes it very easy, is actually we put cash into people's hands. We give out vouchers and we give out cash. And that really kind of empowers people to be able to buy the food that they would want themselves and makes choices about what they want to do. But we're seeing things around school meals. We're seeing, food distributions are continuing. We're trying to keep kids in school and in places by providing meals in those schools. And in many cases that works. It helps to, families are making decisions, well, we can send the kids to school because they will get a meal there and they mightn't necessarily get one at home.
Yeah, and Brendan Devaney's Plan International Ambassador. I'll bring him in a second. I just want to ask you one more question. I don't know if these people are most likely to speak out or if it's a growing number of people, but every time the government announces, say, for instance, foreign aid, you will see people say, well, we need to actually keep that money here because we've got problems in this country that we need to fix. Now, you would hear that occasionally. Now, I'm hearing that more and more and more. And obviously, governments and elected people listen to that type of stuff. With everything else that you've factored in already, I mean, are we changing as a people globally, or is there a minority that's just becoming more vocal, or we're just pulling up the drawbridge more now than we ever did?
I actually think I would agree to a certain extent. I think the COVID situation made us look, I would say, very internally at ourselves and maybe not so much externally. And you've referred to the situation there around vaccines and how maybe governments hoarded. Yeah, we've seen that, but we've always seen that people say, but what about the homelessness in Ireland? And it's not that we're saying you ignore that. We don't, but we actually think there are plenty of organizations and there are plenty of resources going into that. What we want to see is a fair share going to the international commitments that Ireland has made. Like we have a signed commitment that said that we would reach this 0.7% of our gross national income in overseas aid. To date, we haven't got anywhere near that.
Brendan Devaney's Plan International Ambassador. And in the last minute we have, Brendan, what are you doing to try and raise awareness, which is hugely important, as well as funds for Plan International Ireland? I know you've done a lot already, but this is just your latest endeavour.
Yeah, listen, it's difficult, and Paul has highlighted the harrowing nature of what's going on in the world, Greg, but, we got to bring in funds and try and help these people as much as you can. And I'm delighted to be helping Paul and the rest of the team at Plan. We're doing a special charity event in Crow Park, Abseil, and it's kind of a corporate event, Greg, where we're just trying to boost money into the coffers and give people something to do. And as much as this tale is tough, Greg, we still have to give people, I suppose, a reason and maybe an incentive to contribute. A bit like that charity night we did, Greg, where we had an entertainment evening. We sponsored 21 kids on the night. So I think that's part of it, Greg. As much as it's tough out there, we still have to engage with people. So there's a charity event now on Friday in Crow Park where we're abseiling in. So if people go on to plan.ie, they can contribute, because there's obviously kids now in Ukraine, Poland and Moldova, Romania displaced because of the war in Ukraine. They need our help, and Plan are on the ground there helping those people. If you go on plan.ie, you can contribute to that cause, Greg. And as I say, it's just a bit of a thing now where, as Colin Parkinson says, Brendan Devaney has gone down in Crow Park many a time, so he shouldn't have any trouble abseiling. And Greg, so that's
right. Well, it's the only way you'll get into Crow Park with any activity at this stage. Anyway, thanks, Brendan. Good man. Well done, and good luck to that. Paul, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
Take care of yourself. Okay, right. We'll be back with the news after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments present rock and roll legends Show Waddy Waddy at Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, Thursday 9th of June. Tickets on sale now from hotel reception, ticketmaster.ie and Joe Gallagher Entertainments. Show Waddy Waddy live at Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, Thursday 9th of June.
With the summer here, it's time to think about freshening up the paintwork on the outside of our homes. But the important thing isn't just the colours we choose, it's the paint. Fleetwood weatherclad masonry paint uses the highest quality ingredients for a richer colour and a long-lasting finish that helps protect the walls of your home. And it's Irish made, designed to work with the ever-changing Irish light. Would one range of paints transform your home? Fleetwood would. Naturally.
Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. New bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. 083 091 0707.
Is your bank charging you negative interest for holding company money? At John F. Lowry Financial Services, we can secure not only positive but competitive interest rates on a 5-year fixed deposit for corporate clients. Alternatively, it could be a great time to invest in markets, and we offer ways for companies to do just that. If you prefer to limit downside risk, we do offer products with a partial capital guarantee. Surely that's worth considering. Call John F. Lowry Financial Services on 91240002 and find out how our company can help your company. John F. Lowry & Associates Limited, trading as John F. Lowry Financial Services, are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions may apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Stress-free travel, 10 minutes from car park to departures gate, and a selection of 19 destinations across the UK and Europe to choose from can only be one place. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, the rain and drizzle this morning clearing to leave sunny spells and scattered blustery showers, though the showers will die out as the afternoon turns into the evening. Temperatures of 13 to 15 degrees. Okay, it is time to cross over to the newsroom now for the latest news update. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Craig. Good morning. The CEO of the Sealty University Healthcare Group says work is continuing on contingency measures in relation to the cessation of the mobile cath lab services at Letterkenny University Hospital. There has been much backlash as it emerged a number of weeks ago that as of the end of June, the weekly angiogram service will no longer be provided at the hospital. 3 people have been injured in a crash on the Port Road in Letterkenny this morning. Gardaí and emergency services were at the scene of the 3-vehicle incident at around 8:20 a.m. Gardaí say injuries sustained are non-life-threatening. 19 children are among 21 people killed in the deadliest school shooting in America for almost a decade. Police believe 18-year-old Salvador Ramos opened fire inside classrooms at a primary school in Uvalde in Texas, having bought 2 rifles on his birthday and shooting his grandmother. The US Embassy to Ireland is flying its flag at half-mast today as a mark of respect to the victims. The Dáil will be told later today that the British government are trying to evade accountability and responsibility for their role in the Troubles. It comes as the debate continues over an amnesty bill being proposed by the British government. Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin will also raise the findings of a police ombudsman's report which identified collusive behaviours in the killing of Donegal County Councillor Eddie Fullerton. The new president of the GRA says getting more Gardaí on the ground will be high on his agenda in the coming term. Donegal Garda Brendan O'Connor was announced as the organisation's new president at their annual conference, having previously held the role of vice president. Half of the counties in Ireland have fewer than 10 GPs providing abortion services, according to new figures. Today is the 4th anniversary of the repeal referendum, and the National Women's Council are marking the anniversary by highlighting the rural divide affecting abortion care. In Donegal, between 10 and 20 GPs are contracted to provide abortion services. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Okay, Michaela, thank you very much indeed. We'll be back with more on the programme after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
As part of the National Food Waste Recycling Week, Donegal County Council, in partnership with Bryson Recycling and EnviroGrind Limited, will be having free compost giveaway events. Householders can collect free compost made from food and garden waste. Food waste recycling starter packs will also be available to support the use of the food waste recycling bin. Compost giveaway days take place on Tuesday, 31st of May, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Letterkenny Recycling Centre and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Dunlow Recycling Centre. Wednesday, 1st of June, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Carndonagh Recycling Centre and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. in Milford Recycling Centre. Thursday, 2nd of June, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in Lahey Recycling Centre and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Stranauler Recycling Centre. Householders should bring their own bags or container to collect the compost. Compost available while stocks last.
Love what you do, and you'll never work a day in your life, says old Mr. Brennan. That's why our bakers make such great tasty bread. From our bagel bakers to our bakehouse craft bakers and our Be Good bakers. I like a more traditional baker myself, says I. Well, to see our family pan bakers still bake our famous slice pan fresh every morning. However you slice it, anything baked is better with Brennan's. Brennan's, today's bread today.
Lingering sunsets in Spain, captivating coastlines in Croatia, dinner overlooking Lake Como. It's time to stop dreaming and start doing. Let us guide you to your dream destination. Just show up, suitcase in hand, and we'll take care of everything. Flights, accommodation, excursions, expert local guides, and all that planning. Secure your spot on a guided group tour with 2023 dates now on sale, plus superb special offers. See traveldepartment.com. Irish owned and operated for over 25 years. Travel Department, let's see more.
If you're starting a new business in 2022, call into BizPrint today and get sorted. Logo design, invoice books, business cards, and all your printing needs. Call BizPrint at Port Road, Letterkenny on 9177955 or visit bizprint.ie.
Okay, welcome back to the programme. Now, on Wellness Wednesday this week, we're talking about multiple sclerosis. World MS Day is coming Monday, May 30th, and we're hoping to raise awareness for people living with multiple sclerosis in Donegal. Did you know there are 9,000 people in Ireland living with MS, the most common debilitating neurological condition affecting young adults in Ireland? And we're going to be talking about the theme of this year's World MS Day is connections. Now, we're joined in studio by Catherine Peoples, who's MS Regional Coordinator for the Northwest Region. Good morning to you, Catherine. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
And also joined in studio by Paul Dawson from Portnew. Good morning to you, Paul.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate you coming in to help us discuss this and raise awareness. So, Paul, you're just 52 now, and you are living with MS. When did you start considering that there was something going on, something that needed more analysis?
Basically, I suppose I'll keep the story very short because it's actually, in essence, very long.
Yeah.
But my first symptoms were later explained to me by a neurologist to have been when I was actually at school. And then I went through quite a happy life till I was maybe 27, 28. Then they started rearing their head again. And then obviously through tests, things progressed to where I am now, which is confined to a chair. But initially, I suppose it was termed as remitting relapsing MS, which so many people with MS will know about. And some of us progress to secondary progressive, and that's what's happening with me at present. My conditions are progressing slowly, but...
And it was going more slowly, and in the last while there's been a speeding up, has there?
And it just, this acceleration... It's very hard to put specifics on it because it is so individual to individual people. So no two people are the same.
So through your 30s, how quickly were things progressing? How was it affecting your life?
Well, I was still holding a job down at that stage. I was a firefighter for most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still carrying out my duties. I would say probably from my 40s onward, there seemed to be an acceleration.
And in terms of how you live with that, when you know you've got a condition, you know it's likely to get worse, you don't know how it's going to get worse, you don't know how it might affect your life going forward. Is that difficult to deal with, or does it become, it is what it is, that phrase, I hate it, but do you know what I mean? It covers so much. Like, how did you deal with it when you were, not in the condition you are now? It was ever present, was it?
It's always there. I'm the kind of attitude that I'm quite strong mentally, so I believed I would go through it on my own. And it wasn't till as it progressed more and more I realised that organisations such as the MS Society are integral for people with MS. And the hardest step is the first step, if you like, to approach the MS Society. Maybe people think, oh, my whole life is going to be taken over. These guys are going on the phone all the time. But they're really not. Everything is taken very much at your pace. So I suppose from me speaking, my want today more than anything would be to encourage other MS sufferers that haven't yet contacted the MS Society to take that step. And I understand it as a big step, but it really, really helps to share.
Can you remember, Paul, what made you take that step? You talked about sort of resisting it. I can do this on my own. My situation is different,
Totally. I'll go quite frank with it. When I left being a firefighter, my last couple of years was as an instructor at a fire college. So in your own head, you'd reach the pinnacle of your career, your knowledge base and that. And then to have all that kind of swept from under you, I was quite, down, to be honest, probably bordering, I don't know how broad, but I suppose depressed of a sort. So I contacted a gentleman who works for the MS Society through Catherine. He's now retired, Charlie McLaughlin. Had a few chats with him and sessions, and it kind of encouraged me more and more to speak, open up more. And it was fantastic, and it really, really did help. And it's true what they say, to approach others, to discuss your problems. A problem shared is a problem halved.
Yeah. And you obviously were setting up little barriers yourself as to why not to contact, being a private person, being a strong individual, which you are, of course, but also, do I have to open up my whole life to these people? Are they going to know everything about me? Were these sort of little barriers you were putting in front of yourself to delay the decision, if you know what I mean?
It's always in there, certainly. You're always thinking of that, but very much all I can say from personal experience, and indeed from other people I've spoken to that have MS and have been in contact with the MS Society, that it's never like that. I mean, we have weekly meetings online, weekly, I'm terrible with technology.
Zoom meetings or webinars or whatever it might be. We're all trying to, the last couple of years, we're all getting used to this stuff.
Keep up with Zoom meetings all the time, but you pretty much can drop in and out. I mean, I think I attended one, wasn't it, Catherine? I was chatting away, and then I kind of disappear for a while and come back.
You're in control
so
of that.
There's no pressure. You are totally in control at your pace, and the advice is given as you request it.
Yeah. When we talk about, Catherine, awareness, what awareness needs to be gotten out there, do you think? Is it awareness for people with MS that the likes of your services are there? Is it so people have a better understanding of a condition that could be affecting a neighbour or a friend or a family member?
Well, I think it's all of those, Greg, because our figures in Donegal, and you've said it earlier that there's 9,000 people living with MS in Ireland, and we have 350 on our register in Donegal, but I would say that's not even touching the amount of clients that we would have, or people that are living with MS in the community. And I suppose, and as Paul's story is very pivot to the theme of World MS Day this year, connections. It's about encouraging people to get in touch with ourselves, and there's two sides to that. I suppose there's the support that we offer as an information and supports if people need it, but it's really important about putting them in touch with the peer support. We have online groups, support groups, and that, I think that connection and that contact with other people going through similar issues that you're having is really underestimated.
Yeah, and I presume it's at your own level and pace. You want people to dip your toe in and see,
very much so, yeah.
How involved or not you want to be. I mean, the person who engages, they're always in control.
Yeah. Well, you see, MS is obviously it's a lifelong illness, and from the time of diagnosis, which I feel is a really important time for people to maybe make contact, because at that time it's about getting the proper information. Mr. Google obviously is very important, but getting the proper medical information and to people to alleviate any fears that they have, and to encourage people that, with there's fantastic treatments and drug therapies now, for people compared to maybe 20, 25 years ago. There was possibly only one drug therapy available. Now there's a choice of maybe up to 20 at least. So that in itself is encouraging for people. So it's not a condition anymore that when you go to the doctor and neurologist and they're diagnosed that there's no hope, or people can live a very normal, productive life. And I suppose it's getting that information at the beginning, and then, as you said, Greg, dipping out and in as their journey with MS goes along. We would have people that contact us initially. We mightn't hear from them then maybe for years because they're getting on with it. They're
But the connection there has been made, and that door has been opened.
Yeah.
It's just up to them when they choose to step in and out of it.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
All right. Now, in terms of medicines and what have you, Paul, you're currently on medicines. What or are you? I don't know.
Unfortunately, not. No. The situation as it is at the moment, there's very, very few medications there per se for progressive form of MS. I think there's one or two coming through.
There's a new one there recently.
Again, the future is very positive. I actually went for stem cell treatment in India 5 years ago. I was living in Glentees, and the communities of Glentees, Ardra and Portneuf pretty much enabled that to happen, and that certainly slowed it down. I mean, I wasn't expecting a cure per se, but just to slow down the progression. And certainly through my scans, through my neurologist back here in Ireland, they confirmed that things had calmed down. Unfortunately, last year or so, since possibly COVID, I suppose we could blame it on COVID. Everyone blames something on them. That it has accelerated. But as I say, I'm much more informed. As Catherine was saying, information that is key. Yeah. Because knowledge dispels fear.
100%.
In a situation like this.
And there's an element of it that everyone's experience can be somewhat different, Catherine, or they may believe that is the case. But presumably at this point, with the amount of support and trends and what have you, we do know the threads of how this can affect people in different ways. That's important information. Too important that you hear it from another person and not try and figure out on the internet what's happening to you or what could be next.
Definitely. Well, our experience, Greg, is, from talking to somebody being diagnosed, and you ask them maybe, did you know anything about MS when the neurologist maybe mentioned the word? And a lot of people would say that the only thing they knew about MS was maybe a neighbour down the road that was a wheelchair user, or somebody, that had, and I mean, obviously that is the reality of MS, and as Paul said, in Paul's situation, that's the reality, but for the majority of people, there's a lot of people with MS that, I have MS myself for the last possibly now nearly 30 years. And, I've had periods where I've had relapses, and this time last year I was just in hospital. But following on from that then I recover, and, I really firmly believe, and as a society we firmly believe in exercise and diet and really healthy lifestyle as much as possible. Exercise is really a key element, and research has been done in this field, and as a society we provide physio. It's been online physio throughout COVID, which has been really, surprisingly, it's really taken off. And, people that never would have maybe been involved with themselves are involved now because of COVID.
I wonder, Paul, it's not really, I don't know if it's coincidentally or not, but I was out socialising not so long ago with someone with MS, also a wheelchair user. And the one thing that became acutely aware to me, and they were probably very used to it, was that accessibility for people in a chair, and the signs be there, right? But when you open the doors and you see what's behind that doors, very quickly you realise that maybe there's a bit of a box ticking exercise going on. Is that something that's worth highlighting? Do you feel?
Very much so. I couldn't agree more. And as for up until recently, my wife and I used to enjoy city breaks through Europe, and I've got to say we're probably one of the better equipped for people in chairs. I was very surprised. Paris is an instance that I was kind of gauged that maybe 1 in 4 buses in Paris, from what, very rough analysis, were wheelchair equipped, whereas Barcelona was 100% all the time. Wow. Dublin and that, we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. Certainly there's an improvement, and there's a lot of, especially like the MS Society and other organisations, I beg your pardon, like that. that are very proactive in getting it out there.
Mm.
So accessibility is definitely a huge importance.
But we're not at the bottom of the table. We're
no,
up
well,
there, but
that's my personal analysis.
Well, I think as well, Paul, it's an opportunity maybe for you to highlight your own achievement recently, the beach and.
Well, yeah. My wife said, "Do not talk about the toilet."
I know. Yeah.
We actually. Thank you, Catherine, for that opportunity. I don't feel so bad now. My wife won't give me such a hard time. In Portneuf and Yarn, we'll be the first location in County Donegal. One of very few in Ireland that's actually installed a changing places facility, which obviously entails a hoist, privacy screen, adult changing bench, and everything. And it's from what I've been searching around a little bit, as far as I know, we're the actually only one in Europe is actually located at a beach location, because they're normally very prominent areas like Dublin Airport, the National Museums, places like that. So we're hosting an opening day coming up. And that was through help from the county council.
And that's a remarkable achievement, because even removing the beach element of it, we're not very well served with those type of facilities. Like, I know people that travel to Dublin and they have to plan their trip. It's not direct, it's based on these types of facilities. So to be able to achieve that with a recreational element to it as well is a remarkable achievement.
That's it. We kind of want to do, kind of optimise the area's potential for holidays for people that require that level of accessibility.
I think
that's kind of the project. That project's ongoing. It's Donegal County Council have been very, very much behind it, and the MS Society indeed has made donations to us. We've fitted lots of equipment there that we've had lots and lots of personal donations from the community.
Brilliant.
So it's really
good. I'm really, really impressed with that, genuinely, by the way. A caller wants to know, and maybe, I don't know if we've the expertise in this room, and I don't mean that in any way bad, just I don't want to put anyone on the spot is really why I'm saying that. What effect does pregnancy have on MS? Can it deteriorate your condition? Do you know an answer to that one?
Research has shown
Catherine?
that there's no reason why somebody can't become pregnant, and have a family while living with MS. And the doctors would say that during pregnancy, normally women are quite well because of the raising hormones, but there is a slight risk following pregnancy. Following the birth of the baby, maybe within the first 6 months, that there's a slight risk of maybe having a relapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the hormonal changes in the body, presumably. Okay, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Paul or Catherine, what I thought. Like recently, obviously, Charlie Bird was very public as it relates to motor neuron disease, and the one thing I noticed about that afterwards was that, realised that lots of families have been affected by it, and perhaps we didn't know beforehand. Maybe it's because they kept it private, or they didn't think it was a space where it could be discussed in public because of lack of understanding, and it was everywhere, all over the place. Families that go, and this means something to me because this is happening in our family, or this has happened in our family. I'm not conflating the two conditions, but what do we, as the broader public, need to know, or should we understand better, or what can we do different? You know what I mean? Is it in terms of conversation with someone with MS or whatever? Is there anything that we as a broader society need to be doing better? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does actually. It's a really, really good question. What I will say, you just touched on something about the carers. When I say the carers, those say my family members, Catherine's family members, often I feel that with MS or any condition, not necessarily MS, they possibly may be pushed into the shadows, but they're experiencing their own, mainly I suppose, psychological stress at having a partner or a child or whatever with a condition of that nature. But in general public, I find the general public are very, very understanding, to be perfectly honest. Again, I can only speak on a personal level. I can remember one very quick thing of walking out of Letterkenny shopping centre. In those days I was using a stick, and I walked out the shopping centre. My wife was just inside finishing the shopping as she normally is, buying clothes, I'm sure. And I tripped, lost my balance and fell onto the ground.
Yes.
And a lot of people did walk around me. I don't know if they thought maybe I was on alcohol or something, and I was quite vocal and saying, "Excuse me, could you help me?" And it always struck to me it was a big guy, a big biker that came off his bike, walked over, picked me up with one hand, stood me up, and says, "I understand where you are, buddy. I've been there. I've got someone in the family." And it was just so funny. All these people walking by, and they didn't really know whether to step inside the limelight, if you like, to take control of the situation. But this big,
but a beautiful moment with the biker too.
Yeah.
All right.
So great. So I don't know if that helps in any way.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, it does actually. I think so.
And I suppose a bit again, we're going back to connections and conversations. You know, if you know that somebody has MS, or you've heard maybe they've been diagnosed, it's a difficult. I know it can be a difficult one because some people don't want to
talk,
bring it up in case the person doesn't want to talk about it. But I suppose it goes back to the same. If we can, I suppose, encourage people. To be more open and to feel that they can discuss their condition, it alleviates it then for the public, that there's more of a conversation. I mean, as you say, Greg, the whole Charlie Bird, I was involved, and we did a group of girls, we did the claim in Herrick for that, and I just thought it was amazing. Obviously it wasn't amazing, because of Charlie and what he's going through, but I think to highlight, the difficulties that people are having, and to bring, again, the conversation and people talking about the difficulties that an illness like motor neuron or MS can bring
just
into
an
a family.
Understanding, isn't
because,
it?
well, as Paul has said, and
we're just normal people.
Yeah,
I don't want to. I'm not going to ask this of you unless you want to jump in. But obviously, in terms of maybe how you socialise or interact with people changes. But I wonder, do people with any condition but MS, do your social circle change? Do people that maybe visited previously not visit as much, or and could that be born maybe of how do I deal with this, or how do I talk about it, or whatever, or are we moved on from that?
I'm with MS Ireland now 20 years in October, and I definitely would say now in the last maybe 10 years, initially that would have been maybe this, that you would have had a conversation with somebody newly diagnosed, they would have contacted ourselves, and I would have went out to visit them. And it would have been around a conversation, how do I tell my friends? Do I tell my friends? Do I tell my family, certain amount of family? And the whole maybe stigma around it, that definitely has improved or changed over the years. And I really feel it's because of, more highlighting the media, of course, highlighting like a Charlie Bird situation, things like that, that there's not the same stigma around it. And
I totally agree.
I definitely think, and I actually find the opposite now. When I would visit somebody newly diagnosed, and the first contact or maybe second contact, they've actually told everybody.
Yeah.
They've told their workforce, they've told their neighbours, they've told their, so it is.
Yeah, well, I've moved into Portneuf area within 2 years, and certainly the local bar. The guy had come out from a Nora's bar. He built a special ramp because they already had one ramp, which was it can be so technical. It could facilitate someone in a normal manual chair, but a power chair like this that I'm in now is very, very heavy. So I couldn't go over the first small step. So he'd gone out within a couple hours and built a new ramp. So every time they just say to me, if you're coming up for a wee drink, he says, just give us a phone and I'll have the ramps out. And the social thing's the same, social circle's the same. All the guys treat me the same.
I mean, there's a lot of positives there, isn't there? You know what I mean? Because obviously, I'm maybe conditioned to sort of see where there might be a problem or where we need to improve. But even in that situation, it shows that. You might not be able to hear Connor. I'll try my best. I just want to bring Connor in for a second. Connor Carey, he's cycling stages of Tour de France in June for MS International and MS Donegal to raise awareness. He's also has primary progress. Connor, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Nice to speak to you.
Thank you very much, Craig.
Okay, so you've been doing this for MS since 2019. I mean, obviously you suffer from MS yourself, but why do you do it, and what's been the standout over the last number of years for you in this process?
Well, basically, the main reasons I do it is because I see the benefits of doing it. I see the money as it's raised. Basically, the crowd that's handling the organises the run the cycle that I do. It's a Danish run operation, and they've raised over 7.5 million kroner since it's been initiated.
And can people follow your progress in June, or how do they get more information about what you're doing?
Yeah, well, pretty much. I'm going over in the middle of June, and there's 400 of us. It's mostly Danish riders, but there's also an international team which comprises of about myself. I'm the only person from Ireland in it. I think there might be one or two people from the UK in it, Italians and Americans. this year. I'm not very sure. I missed the Zoom call the last day to see exactly who was going this year. But pretty much I done it in 2019, and due to COVID, I haven't been able to do it any year since. I've applied for it each year, but because of vaccines and et cetera, I wasn't able to do it. This is my first year since 19 that I'm able to do it.
All right, well, listen, can we speak to you closer to the time, Connor, and get more information, and we can advise people how they can support you then?
Absolutely, yeah, that would be brilliant. Thank you very much, Craig. I'll tell you what, it's 400 kilometres over the mountain stages of this year's Tour de France in the middle of June.
Okay,
There's about 400 of us doing it.
Why?
The only reason that I can give you the answer to that is because I'm able to do it at the moment.
I know.
Because
Listen,
I was much better able to do it in 2019. Unfortunately, I'm not as able to do it now, but come here, I can still tell, so it's all good.
all right, Connor, listen, well done. We'll chat again. Thanks very much
Thank
for
you kindly.
that. Thank
Have a
you.
great-
And it's people like Connor and yourself, both of you, getting the message out there, and Connor's raising money, and you're providing the unmentionable, according to your wife, the toilets.
Well, funny enough, we've actually got an event ourselves, and Catherine and I it was an old friend of mine, he's Donegal Mountain Rescue. We were trying to put a project together to be the first wheelchair at the top of Karen Tuho. And it kind of, again, just as Connor was explaining there, because of the COVID, it went on the back burner, but we may sometime revisit that, because certainly Catherine's invited herself on the journey up the hill.
God, yeah.
So I'm going to hopefully keep her to that. She can push me up the last couple of feet.
Did you find the pandemic particularly challenging, Paul or Catherine? I don't know.
Well, I suppose now on a personal level, I suppose work-wise, we were working from home all through the pandemic. And you know what, we just got familiar with Zoom and Teams and all that. But I think for our clients, it has been very challenging, Greg, because a lot of our clients that are in receipt of home support would have, been very cautious and worried, and a lot of them would have reduced their home support package during the first year anyway. But I mean, the community staff, the services that are out there from HSE, the AWA, Centre for Independent Living, all the different private home care, Homestead and Bluebird Care, but they've been fantastic. I mean, their staff have kept our clients safe in their home. I'm sure Paul would, be fit to.
Okay, right. Anything either of you want to add? Sorry if we keep you so long. It's been an interesting conversation.
No, it's been great, Greg. Really appreciate the opportunity. I suppose maybe just to say that part of World MS Day this year, as you said at the beginning, is around connections. So part of that, MS Ireland have been in partnership with Novartis, which is the drug company, one of the drug companies that provide medications for people with MS. And they have an exhibition now this week coming in the Trinity Biomedical Science Institute in Dublin. And so it's a collection of 12 artworks from people living with MS. Were you not contacted about that, Paul? You're not an artist, are you?
I'm not very artistic.
But anyway, 12 people were selected out of their...
There's a joke in there, but I can't say it on
that's
air.
Going to be the next,
we're in Leo's.
That could be the next project for Paul.
No, thank you.
But only 12 really good artworks, and these are being displayed from this Thursday until next Wednesday, the 1st of June.
Brilliant.
And we actually have a lady from Donegal, her name's Marion Mulhern, as one of the artists that have provided.
Fantastic.
So if anybody's in Dublin or around, maybe pop in.
Paul, it's been lovely having you in, and fair play to you. And I know you're clearly a modest person, but fair play to you on what you're doing in terms of that changing facilities. I think it's amazing to be locating that where it is. It's fantastic. So, Paul, thank you for coming in and talking to us. And, of course, you, Catherine Peoples, it's been lovely having you in as well.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, okay, that was Wellness Wednesday. That was Catherine Peoples, MS Regional Coordinator for the North West. And you also heard from Paul Dawson there from Portnoon. We'll be back with more on the programme after the break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
At Irish Life, we've been helping people make smart investments with their nest egg for over 80 years. For actual trusted advice, search irishlife.ie or contact your financial broker or advisor. We know Irish Life. We are Irish Life. Irish Life Financial Services is tied to Irish Life Assurance for life and pension products. Irish Life Assurance plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Irish Life Financial Services Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
If you're thinking of changing some furniture, a huge sale is now on at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny. It's a chance to save hundreds of euros on floor model suites, beds and mattresses, dining and occasional furniture, with reductions in all departments. It's a great opportunity to grab a real bargain in the big sale now on at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny. See mcginleysfurniture.com.
Tune in this Thursday for all the latest farming news and views straight after the 5 p.m. news, brought to you in association with Lifford Credit Union, who have recently launched Cultivate, an agricultural loan at only 6.55%, APR 6.75%. Call into any of their 3 offices for more information or to make an appointment. Lifford Credit Union, Rafo Newton Lifford, supporting local farmers.
For great food in the heart of Letterkenny's Cathedral Quarter, step into Dillon's Hotel. Using only the best local produce, Dillon's serve an extensive menu every day from 12. Perfect for a quick bite, a relaxed lunch or a leisurely dinner. Try the renowned 4-course Sunday lunch with full table service. Or if you work in town, why not pre-order and have your lunch waiting? Great food and service, 7 days a week at Dillon's Hotel Letterkenny, with live music every Friday and Saturday night. Visit dillons-hotel.ie.
Is your Skoda a little older? Pre-loved, perhaps? What adventures, I wonder, did it have in the past? Another family, another life, bright city lights, or a quiet country existence seeing Ireland's best sights? We don't really need your car's story. With a Skoda service, you get a complete vehicle health check, genuine Skoda parts, and free roadside assistance for 12 months.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 97 21396 or visit dmgmotors.ie.
The Groom's Room is now open and taking bookings for all you grooms getting married. Contact us at Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park.
We're all faced with things going up these days, but you'll still find amazing value every single day at Aldi. And you could save over €70 on your big family shop when compared to one of our nearest competitors. Nearest and dearest indeed. So don't change your lifestyle, change your supermarket. Aldi, every day amazing. Comparisons against products sourced in SuperValue 28th of March 22. Lowest pro rate used and offers excluded. For full details, see aldi.ie.
The Kia Sportage, Donegal's best-selling car for 2022. If you're thinking about making the move to Kia or to upgrade your current Kia, make sure to call in today to iMotors Letterkenny or Malin. With a 7-year warranty as standard, driving a Kia makes sense.
Londonderry and Letterkenny Chambers are hosting a CBPES tax information breakfast event for cross-border workers and employers on Thursday 26th of May at Greenon Hotel Burt from 8:30 a.m. You are encouraged to attend to learn about tax, pension and social security implications for cross-border employers and employees. Book your free place by emailing Wendy at londonderrychamber.co.uk.
Mega deals now on at Curry's. Save €150 on the Beko American-style fridge freezer with water dispenser, now $829. And get the HP 14-inch laptop with full HD screen, now $639. Save €240. Get in-store or online at currys.ie. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
It's a busy time on farms, so watch out for tractors, trailers and other farm machinery using the roads. Be patient. Slow down and only overtake farm machinery when it's safe to do so. If you're driving a tractor, you must hold a licence. Make sure your vehicle is roadworthy, check your load regularly and drive at a safe speed. Be aware of traffic building up behind you and when possible, allow cars to pass safely. From the Road Safety Authority and the Irish Farmers Association.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Thanks once again to Paul and Catherine for calling in and highlighting that issue with us ahead of multiple sclerosis World MS Day, effectively is what it's called shortly. And shortly, coming up on this programme, we are going to be joined by Kieran O'Donnell, who's be coming in to give us a run through of the latest business news and also to tell us what's coming up on the Highland Radio Business Matters podcast. Okay, 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp line, 086 60 25,000. You can give us a call too on 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. Right, let's see, let's take a piece of music here. Okay, that is Wham and Freedom there. Did you enjoy that, Kieran?
Well, you were bopping about the studio there, Greg, so
I don't
you enjoyed
really
it more than
think
me.
So I bopped to the toilet.
That's a happy tune, isn't it? It's off his time, it's a happy tune.
Did you look a wee bit like Andrew Ridgely, actually, the other member of Wham?
Yeah.
There's some similarity.
You were saying you look more like George Michael from the eyebrows down. I couldn't comment.
All right, here we go.
Business Matters, in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. The part-time Level 8 Honours degree in Business is delivered through a mix of online and face-to-face lectures. Email execedbusiness@lyit.ie. That's EXECED business@lyit.ie or call 9186206.
Alrighty then, it is time for us to preview Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast. Its presenter, producer Kieran O'Donnell, who's also going to run through some business news for us. Good morning properly, Kieran. Good morning. Right, okay, so let's start with some news. Good news for Donegal School and business acumen.
Yeah, Scullwater Secondary School in Buncrana is one of 16 schools in Ireland to be recognised by the AIB Future Sparks programme. The AIB Future Sparks programme is a new skills-based interdisciplinary programme for secondary school students aimed at supporting 12 to 18-year-olds in the development and learning of key skills. So a total of 585 schools across the country registered for the programme that focuses on sustainability, financial wellness, health and well-being and civil literacy.
All right, an interesting and perhaps potentially beneficial initiative from the council as it relates to remote working this summer.
Yeah, Donegal County Council in collaboration with...
Almost just gave in there. I've talked enough, that's
You
it.
would never give in, Greg. Yeah, the council in collaboration with digital hubs across the county is offering the chance to work for free from a digital hub in Donegal, and that's until September the 30th, through a new working holiday campaign. The initiative provides the opportunity to enjoy everything that Donegal has to offer during the summer months, while also availing of a remote working opportunity in a range of locations across the county. So after registration, remote workers will receive a free day pass to work in a participating hub, and a total of 11 hubs in Donegal are taking part in the initiative.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what the uptake on that is and what comes from it. It's an interesting one, even just to sort of see what demand is.
Very much. And I suppose maybe to get a gauge on people's experiences when they come up here, what they like and
exactly
what attracts them to here.
Not, for sure. Right, okay, good news for Letterkenny Chamber. It's in line for a big award.
Yes, Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce has been shortlisted for the Partnership for Business category of the National Chamber Awards. This category highlights initiatives where a chamber has successfully worked in partnership with another organisation to support and develop business in their area.
All right, a big achievement for a young Cathal Cannon. Tell us about this.
Yes, Donegal Local Enterprise Office's Student Enterprise Award winner in the senior category for 2022, Cathal Cannon, has placed third overall in the national finals of the Student Enterprise programme last Wednesday. A TY student at St Columba's College in Stranraer, Cathal developed the smartphone app Sports Injury Response, which provides guidance on how to deal with a range of sports injuries until medical assistance can be provided. Cathal, as you remember, was a guest on the podcast, Greg, earlier this month, and came up with the idea for the app after sustaining an injury himself while playing football last year.
Yeah.
So great achievement, and he got through to the last five. He made it through to the very final shortlist and was third overall, which was a great achievement.
Brilliant achievement, because he saw a problem that needed a solution, came up with a solution, and fair play to him, and fair play to you for spotting the potential there as well. These kind of stories sicken me, to be honest with you.
I was thinking about it as
I don't know if that makes me, I don't know what category I'd fall into, but just perverse levels of wealth.
Yeah.
I don't know. People work hard and they're entitled to it, I suppose. But go on anyway.
Okay. An extremely
wasn't so
rare
done deal anyway. This one, I can tell you that for a fact.
An extremely rare 1955 Mercedes-Benz has been auctioned off for €135 million, making it the world's most expensive car ever sold, and it was acquired by a private buyer.
And I get it, right, but that's going to go in, and I've seen programmes on this before, that's going to go into, someone's going to have a really big house in a big room with big windows, and it's going to sit in there, and they're going to go in occasionally and have a look at it beside all the other cars that they're own. And that's €135 million in there doing nothing. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, well,
does that make me social? I don't know what the terms mean, but I don't know what. I'm not saying all the money should be taken off them and it should be distributed elswhere, but I don't know. Someone just being able to.
The curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to go and see what it looked like. It's like if you can remember the very first James Bond movie. It's like one of those cars. That's what it's like.
Okay, but much more expensive.
Yeah.
€135 million for a car. Right, okay. Well, someone had the money and they had the desire and they've got it now. Right, let's talk about this week's podcast, Kieran.
Yeah, Greg, on this week's Business Matters, I'm joined by Kieran Doherty, Operations Manager and Skipper with the Anya Fishing Company based in Burton Port. Kieran is also chairperson of the Killybegs Fishermen's Organisation. He first went to sea at the age of 4 and joined the family-owned business on a full-time basis while still in his teens in 1992. 3 years later, he got his captain's licence. Anya Fishing Company was started by his father Joseph, who bought his first boat in 1970 at the age of 19, and the company currently employs 16 people. In this clip, Kieran recalls when and how he ended up joining the family firm 30 years ago.
Well, I would have started in 92 as an employee of the company with my father, and it came about because Donegal actually won the All-Ireland in 1992. A lot of the crew had gone to Dublin for the match and they kind of got lost on their way home, so my father was going to fish early the next morning and I was taken out as cover, and that was it. I'd always a love for fishing all through my teenage years. My father and mother was trying to keep me at school rather than I just wanted to go fishing. And from my early childhood, everything was fishing. So it was it was a good job to keep me at school because I needed that education from school for later years, but at that time I didn't realise that. But 92 I was intending to go to college, and that week I did, when Donegal won the All-Ireland, just changed the whole thing because I just went fishing then, and I've been fishing since.
It's an interesting story. It is unique to fishing industry, but very relatable, I think, right across the board, Kieran.
Yeah, I suppose, look, he's the third, I suppose, generation of the Doherty family. His father and his uncle would have started with wooden boats. And I suppose the one thing that struck me when I was down talking to Kieran in his office in Burton Port, behind us on the wall were the 4 images of the 4 modern vessels that his father had. And every 7 to 10 years, they have to upgrade those to steel vessels. And I suppose with every upgrade, there's more expense. But it's keeping up with the technology and reinvesting. And that was the 2 things that Kieran would have pressed upon, you know.
I had a wooden boat. The wooden boat was a wooden cab, wooden seats, wooden engine, wouldn't go.
I knew it was coming. But look, I suppose...
Can I just say a formal apology, by the way? I really apologise for that. And it's an interesting insight, and he's seen so many changes, not only in the equipment over the years, Kieran, but also the industry itself and what it takes to stay in it. And
there's no doubt about it. It's a challenging time at the minute for the fishing industry, and Kieran would have articulated his views and has quite strong views in some areas. Obviously, they're dealing with Brexit, they're dealing with the burden sharing, and they're also dealing with the weighing issues at Killybegs. And so the other thing that he noted, he said, look, and he wasn't being disrespectful, but he said ministers come and ministers go and different things, but he says the people that are in the industry, they remain the same, and he said that they are the people that maybe should get maybe more of a voice when it comes to solving
should be
problems.
Listened to. Kieran, listen, thank you very much indeed. The Business Matters podcast available for you right now in long format, of course. That's just a clip, a sample for you. It's available for you right now on our website, highlandradio.com. You'll see it in the playback session, the on-demand section. It's also available on Spotify and iTunes, and broadcast on the radio, Kieran?
Yeah, after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday evening, and it's hopefully after Donegal come out tops against Derry.
Yeah, what do you think? It's going to be tricky, but I think that's why it's so intriguing. Yeah, we're going to really see where Derry are at, and we're going to see where Donegal's at.
Yeah,
and
I hope it's a good game, and I hope we come out on top.
Yeah, all right, good stuff. But you're not... You hope, but what are you predicting, Kieran?
Yeah, I'm more confident at the end of this week than I would have been last week. Okay. And it's just, I'm a wee bit nervous. I don't get too nervous before games.
Maybe you're superstitious.
Look, I suppose Donegal Derry is just, look, they're neighbours across the road, and we haven't, I suppose, been playing them certainly at the final basis for a stage for a long time. So
most recently it's 1 each. So,
yeah,
okay.
I suppose, look, a lot of talk too, but I suppose 92 and 93 the game was played, and then 1998. So look, I think we're due an Ulster title, and maybe we owe Derry one as well.
All right, back after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Small businesses often find it difficult to access the finance they need. Microfinance Ireland, the government-funded not-for-profit lender, can help. We help businesses who've been unable to secure finance from banks or other lenders. We provide business loans up to €25,000 to businesses of less than 10 employees with a turnover of up to €2 million. For more information, visit microfinanceIreland.ie or talk to your local enterprise office. Microfinance Ireland, funding small businesses in times of recovery and opportunity.
If you're 65 or over, or you have a weak immune system, you can now get your second COVID-19 booster vaccine. Your vaccine is due 4 months after your last vaccine. It will improve your protection from COVID-19. You can book a vaccination centre appointment on hsc.ie or contact a participating GP or pharmacy. For more information on your second booster or to book an appointment, visit hsc.ie or call our team in HSE Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSE for us all.
What will your June feel like? Will you immerse mind, body and soul in the deep of sea or lake? Or scale new heights on one long roller coaster of adventure? To spread our wings and take one long, wonderful exhale. That's the bank holiday feeling. And June's long weekend is the perfect time to feel and bank it all. Ireland is waiting. Start planning at discoverireland.ie to make the most of your June bank holiday. And keep discovering. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a city break this summer? You can now fly twice weekly to beautiful Cologne in Germany every Sunday and Thursday with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, so rain and drizzle clearing this afternoon. Showers will become isolated, gradually dying out by evening. Temperatures 13 to 15 degrees. Now, government plans to scrap hospital inpatient and outpatient charges next year could prompt thousands of people on low-cost health insurance plans to drop the cover. VHI said the impact would be negligible on its claims costs, so it's unlikely to react by cutting premiums. Dermot Good is health insurance expert with totalhealthcover.ie. That's their website. Dermot, what effect do you think this might have? And good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Yeah, well, what I'd say, Greg, first of all, is that it's good news for consumers. If and when it does happen, because particularly those who don't have insurance, because right now, if they don't have a medical card, if they're admitted to any public hospital, be it for them an adult or a child, they have to pay €80 per night. And that can be charged for up to 10 nights in any 1 year. So that's up to €800. Anybody with a child who has to have an emergency appendectomy, for example, they could be in let's just say, a public hospital, Letterkenny General, for 2 weeks, and that's €800. So it looks like they will be removing the charge for children later this year. Now, they have said, it's interesting, the minister's comments, that they're going to look to remove it for all adults next year, subject to funding. So that basically means it's a year away, first of all, and secondly, obviously the HSE are going to look to make sure that whatever income they may lose as a result of this initiative, that they're going to recoup that elsewhere.
But also, too, there's a political element to this, Dermot, because obviously it can be flagged now, but this would be a very positive announcement to drop, say, for instance, during an election cycle. So there's probably an element of that in there too.
Absolutely. I mean, look, on the face of it, it is good news. Now, for those with health insurance, you see, what happens is a lot of people take out the entry-level plans, either because they want to cover those public hospital charges, or they want, if they're getting close to 35, they want to avoid these age loadings that were brought in, or if they, let's just say, they have an existing medical condition that they know won't be covered for 5 years, they join an entry-level plan until the 5 years is up, and then they upgrade their cover. Or, for example, people just they want to skip the queues that we all know exist in the public system. So what I would say to you, the people who will probably be most interested and may be prompted to cancel their cover are the small cohort of people who joined specifically to get those public hospital charges covered. And they may now reconsider the value of policies. But to be honest with you, Greg, the only immediate thing that's going to happen is it looks like later this year it'll be removed for children. So anybody who has very young children and who doesn't believe in maybe private health cover for those children, well, if the public system is going to be free for them now, they may be prompted to maybe remove the children from the policy.
Okay, so is it fair to say then that it will impact people positively, cost around $30 million a year? There will be a positive impact in here. But in terms of the insurance, the health insurance market as a whole, it doesn't really change a great deal other than for that cohort you talk of.
Exactly. You've summarised it really well, because you see, look, those entry-level plans, for the vast majority of people who take out private health insurance, it's because they want to be able to access treatment quickly. So if the public system can't, let's just say, accommodate them quickly, they can go privately. And we see that for, look, of the 700,000 people or more that are on public hospital waiting lists, roughly 8 to 10% of them are young children. So the vast majority of people who take out cover, it's for that reason. It's not to cover these public hospital charges. So I think this will only appeal to a very small cohort. And also as well, Greg, the charges are so minimal that I don't think we'll see the insurance companies passing on or having any scope to pass on discounts. In fact, I'd say what the insurance companies suspect is that the HSE or the government will simply apply these charges elsewhere. So they might increase the actual private charges in public hospitals. So it could mean the health insurers pay out the exact same as they're currently spending. But the devil will be in the detail.
Okay, Dermot.
Overall, it's a positive indicator, but like everything else, we have to wait and see what's in the fine print.
Look forward to speaking to you when we know more. Dermot Good, you can check out totalhealthcover.ie, by the way, for all information on health insurance. Thank you very much for being with us today. It's great to have you. We'll be back with you tomorrow.